Nope. stuff. Hello, everybody. Please confirm you can. Everyone, we're working on things. You know how this is. I just sat here and talked for 2 minutes and nothing came out, so that's okay. Steve had to run do kid stuff. Welcome to the live stream 60/40, as it were. Thank you, Ryan, for the graphic that he put together for us. How is everybody? It is a Sunday. Um, June 2nd. Weird things going on, fixing audio and fixing video and figuring out software. Got some fun stuff going on in the gear world. But first of all, Steve will be here in a second. But we also have Jason from Working Class Music and Play Jason. What's up, dude? You know, you know. Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that. I totally get that. Um, So how's your gear life been? Anything fun? Anything new? Anything exciting? Yeah, we did. Oh, apparently they don't hear you, Jason. I hear you. Oh, you're just very quiet, they said. Okay. I've got you maxed out here. Steve, can we hear you? Let's figure out. I hear you. No, you're the same volume to me. Yeah, you're the same to me. And of course, we get the fun delay while people wait to tell us whether or not they can hear Steve. Same for Steve. Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna crank up the volume on the interview, um, and see what happens there. I'm gonna mute these other things. All right, talk for me, both of you. Okay, I that's interesting. I'm not sure. Can you hear me now? Yeah, that's really awkward. I wonder why it's not going through. Like I said, I worked on this some this morning to get it right, and I'm going to pull it up here real quick in my in the video so that I can figure out if I can hear what's going on. I'm gonna mute myself. You two chat for a second. Said it's better now. So yeah, yeah. I figured I was super clear. I don't know why interviewee would be so quiet. So yeah, exactly. So I don't understand. No, I fixed that problem. I fixed that problem. So obviously people can see I'm reacting to things y'all are saying, so I can hear y'all, but apparently other people cannot. Yeah, yeah. So give us just a second here while we fix this, y'all. Because it's odd because I can hear everyone perfectly. Um, let's check some preferences here. Again, forgiveness, y'all. We thought we thought we had this mapped out correctly. Um, Yeah, exactly. And I can hear you both so clearly, and you're registering in the output, so it's very, very odd. Um, I'm gonna mute my mic for just a second. I'm gonna click a button. Y'all keep going. All right. I realize that means people aren't gonna hear me for a second, but that's okay.
Yeah. So, how have you been, Steve?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I've had this thought earlier
Yeah.
about how every podcast does like this what's new thing, and how really what the implication of like a what's new when you do a weekly show is that you're going to spend at a minimum like $5,000 a year on gear. Like that's the audience expectation. I feel like.
That's
I
true.
mean, I mean, maybe that's not
Yeah.
actually their expectation, but that's what I feel like. Like that every week you're going to be like, check out this new pedal I got, and then like twice a year you're going to be like,
Mm.
check out this new guitar I got. So really, you're spending like, hopefully, you're selling some of that stuff off or whatever. But like,
Right. All right, y'all.
it's a
Okay,
weird
Yeah.
thing
I
to
have
think
found
about.
it. I found it. So there's
What?
just
What?
one more button to press.
One more
So,
button to press.
but this means
Well,
we finally did it.
How
Steve, we've
many?
only been
How
using the
many?
software for four. This is our third or fourth stream with this software.
How many buttons does this software have, man?
So many.
I'm
It's
about
it's
to.
isn't it?
because it's a video recording software that has been co-opted into streaming software is what it feels like. And
Have you
so
have you ever heard of this service called StreamYard? It works really well.
it doesn't though. It has its own problems. I
Always
like
works for me.
Yeah, well, it doesn't stream to multiple sources. Remember, we had some weird issues with. Then again, Facebook has taken away the ability to stream to groups now.
Oh, it has.
Yeah, you can't do it anymore. They took that
Oh,
away. So
5,000 is definitely rookie numbers.
well, okay, wait. Okay, let's talk about this now. Now that you brought it up and everybody can hear each other. So the whole what's new thing. So Steve, you conjecture it means you're spending if you're a weekly podcast that actually goes out weekly. Let's be honest, almost no weekly podcast actually hits weekly. I know that y'all are
I can
really
go live on
consistent.
Facebook.
In the group, not the. You can go to your page, but you can't go to the group.
No, I'm doing it from the group.
Yeah, well, not from an app. That's what I mean.
Oh, right,
The
right.
third
I
party
can do it from the
integration is
website.
gone. Yeah, third party
I'm gonna.
integration is gone.
All right.
You
Anyway,
you can
sorry.
still stream to an individual page. So if you're weekly, we'll pretend just for simplicity 52 episodes a week. That does mean you're implying that you have something new every week.
Yeah.
And so $5,200 feels like the minimum, right?
Oh, I'm just
Because
saying, like, if every week you're I mean, you could be like, "Hey guys, I got a new pack of strings. This week's episode is brought to you by the pack of strings that I bought," and then uh it's whatever, it's that.
yeah.
So,
So having said that, what do you have new, Jason? We were talking about that when nobody could hear you.
Not much. Like, really, it's the same as last time. I mean, your boy's been big broke, so
Yeah.
yeah. No, I did get a newer Harmony silhouette that I'm doing some stuff with. So, but it's the same as everybody else's, the champagne color. I got a cool like gold Darth Vader sticker that I'm gonna put on it.
Oh,
Maybe that should
nice.
be the video.
That'll be it. You know,
So
stickers on guitars tend to rile people up, so
yeah,
they do.
but yeah.
What about you, Steve? Anything new? I mean, it's been a while since we've chatted, and of course, you do a weekly podcast where you talk about things that are new.
right, that's why I'm complaining about this.
I know exactly.
To Destructo, I'm kind of in the same boat with you, honestly. I don't really buy uh a lot of gear, and I will say my what's new is I've started posting shorts and reels and stuff, so
Hmm.
that the and I learned that the YouTube Shorts editor is freaking balls, man. It is
It's
awful.
awful. It's
Uh,
not good at all. If
and
you
I
if
don't
you have to get it right when you upload, you can't trust that you can fix it on YouTube
Yeah.
side.
Well, it's not even fixing it. It's a matter of like I'm doing the creation. like I could post the same thing to Instagram and to YouTube Shorts. The Instagram Reels thing, it works pretty good.
Yeah.
The thing that's dumb that Instagram does that's dumb about YouTube is Instagram will let you load all of your files up and then you edit them.
Yeah.
But in YouTube, you load one file at a time, and that's the part that's annoying. But anyway,
Yeah. We
two
digress.
things. One, for folks who are waiting, this is maybe a little inside the ball, but the this is an older. No, this is the new one. This is the version 3 that I have of the Pelican Noiseworks 5050, which is Ryan's signature overdrive, and we have a new batch of these that's out now. If you head on over to pelicannoiseworks.com, you can check that out. I know it's like, gotta put it right here.
I don't have one. I need one.
But then my other what's new is I got this pedal back. So I ran into Philippe at the Effectors Market back in January at NAMM.
Yep.
And he was telling me that he's got a mod idea for the Icarus. So the Icarus is like a what do they call it? Sonic awesomeness. That's all it's called. But it's basically a preamp pedal. It actually, with the gain, can get pretty hairy. But the mode, it's backwards. The switch that he put on here puts it in like functionally a low gain mode. So you're getting so now it's like, has the potential to be like a full range preamp where you can have like clean and then you can have like up to like a low gain overdrive. So like that low gain overdrive is like, your first maybe up to noon gain on like a Tube Screamer sort of a thing. So
yeah. That's pretty cool.
So
I
I
don't
think
have
that's
any
all my what's
Caroline
new
effects anymore.
Well, that sounds like a problem.
That is a
that
problem
you need to fix.
I don't have any. I did have the somersault for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really like the somersault. It's one of my favorite modulation pedals. I just don't use modulation that much outside of tremolo. So
I have an idea for oh no, I didn't. Oh, I'd already told you. I don't want to talk about my idea for my next Instagram reel because
yeah. You told me already.
I think it's too good. I think it's too good to spoil.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I totally get it. So I'm scrolling back in our messages. We talked a whole lot when we started talking about getting ready to do this live stream. Oh, what do I have new? This.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. Jason helped me procure this from Guitar
that?
Center Used. This is a Creston Lee.
Mm-hmm.
He called it the Triple Charlie because it has 3 Charlie Christian pickups.
Right.
And I'm still learning it a little bit. It's first time messing around with Charlie Christian pickups. And so far so good. They're really weird sounding. I didn't expect that. I've played a couple of old school Gibson with the Charlie Christian in it, but they were big hollow bodies, and so it's a big different experience. And they're somewhere between a P90 and a Strat pickup, or P90 and a Telecaster pickup, is the way they sound. So I don't know. They're real weird. A little lower output than you'd expect.
Is that going to bring us to our first topic?
I think
you're mentioning of Jason as a Guitar Center player, or do we want to do the other topic that we talked about?
Dealer's choice. What you got?
What was the Guitar Center topic?
How according to Rhett Scholl, you work at the worst Guitar Center?
I'm gonna avoid that right now because
I mean, that's not my opinion. That's not your opinion. That's Rhett's opinion.
Yeah, well, it's funny because a lot of the complaints I don't want to get fired.
Right, exactly.
All right. Well, let's just talk about the other topic that will get you fired in a different way, which is how do like does Uncle Paul need to change his image?
So that was the real topic. Let's the
Yeah.
way I worded it was, does Paul Reed Smith have a culture problem?
Uh, I don't think he does. I think.
You
Not him in particular. The
Oh.
perception of the company.
Oh. The perception of the company. I think. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't think they've shifted enough since new metal was a thing. So you have on one hand a lot of blues eccentric lawyers, dentists playing the core models, and then on the other hand you have the butt rockers, and then in
Yeah.
between you kind of have John Mayer and Carlos Santana,
Sort of.
and I think it's sort of, but I don't feel like John, but I don't feel like John, like there needs to be more of that. So to answer the question, yes, I personally think they do, and I've said this in every video we've done recently on them. The S2 line is perfectly positioned to be like the new indie
mm-hmm.
guitar, and for whatever reason, like I don't have the data to support it, but you know, from what I'm seeing, um, it just seems like the hype for them isn't as much as it should be.
Right.
Gotcha. I gotcha. Hey guys, we're a real live stream. We have one thumbs down already. So,
Nice.
it wasn't before we
It's
started
because
though.
of me.
I'm disappointed that it wasn't before we started, because that's when the people who do this for real get that first thumbs down. Is it before the video even starts?
So
So
PRS S2, I mean, I guess I'm trying to look at what all is actually in the S2 lineup now. So we're talking about, let's see, there's an S2 custom. See, so okay, so this is my, I guess this is my take. This is a weird, maybe a weird opinion. I don't think it's a weird opinion. I think the problem with PRS being like an indie guitar is outside of like the S2 Vela satins, they lack an aesthetic.
Yeah, no, I agree.
They're too damn shiny.
Well, I think the S2 series, the satin ones, anyways, like because I know they have the standard 22,
Mm-hmm.
um, and a few others, like the ones with the pick guard. I think they have that aesthetic, like
Mm-hmm.
the ones that kind of look like the Vela, so to speak. Like,
yeah,
Right.
I'm gonna see if I can share my screen here. Okay, there we go.
And
So
even the Vela's not it's not it's almost got like a dog ear thing going on. It's not a or not dog ear, dog hair finish, but
mm,
it's not. It's just kind of like semi raw. I'm looking at close-ups of the finish now, and so it's kind of like the Novo, how Novo does their finishes, which is a
mm,
little like that's a controversial. Found people like kind of love hate that type of satin finish. So
mm.
again, like I think that's kind of like when I think of indie guitars, I still think of Jaguars and Jazz Masters and
Yeah.
whatnot. And while the Vela should be pushing into that, they still seem a little too shiny.
I
What Paul Reed Smith needs to do to become a indie guitar darling is they need to make relic versions of the Vela, but that's never going to
That's
happen.
not gonna happen. I had a Vela. I had the non. Where is it? I'm looking. I had the non.
See,
There it is. There it is. I had that version of the Vela. The not semi hollow version, and it was a
Right,
good. It was a
right.
good guitar. It was fine. I didn't have any issues with it. Um, I ultimately sold it. My thing is that I find interesting. So I've gone through a bunch of PRS guitars in the last year and a half. It's been sort of a trading into getting a deal and flipping, but also wanted
Hmm.
to explore them because I've always hated PRS guitars, always have. And then they've kind of won me over a little bit. I don't like flame maple tops. I see Joe is saying she loves flame maple tops. I don't like them. They don't make me happy. They're too much. They're
see,
just too much. I like the subdued thing of it.
wait, actually scroll back down a
Uh
little
huh.
bit. Like those three right there up.
Oh,
Yeah,
too far right
yeah,
there.
right there. Yeah, those three, like even further down, like that's the look that I picture for the indie crowd.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the thing is, I think Steven's right. Like I I love them, and I just dropped a review on the Vela and did a video on it. And I think it's a fantastic guitar, and like I think that's the thing for me playing them. I was like, wow, this should be like an indie staple. Like, you know, I'm surprised that Dave Knudsen from Minus the Bear, when Minus the Bear was a thing, wasn't playing like these and Minus the Bear. He was still playing his McCarty Gold Top. Uh,
Right.
but it's just like I think they just have that branding issue of where their products are really good, but I
Right.
think the people that like them, like the audience, just I don't think a lot of people are receptive to them because of the audience that likes them.
Yeah. So
In a way, it's the hyper it's like hyper Gibson,
Yeah,
if that
yes.
makes sense. You know, it's
No.
like Gibson is like, oh, Gibson is for blues and country and whatever, even though it hasn't been for years, and
No. No.
uh but it still has a little bit of that
So for
dog
me,
stigma to it.
when I realized there was still an issue, because I thought with the John Mayer stuff and with all the extra coverage PRS has been getting outside of that, butt rock and new metal kind of vibe.
Hmm.
Because I mean, in the 2000s, that was the thing. PRS into a Mesa Boogie triple wreck. That was it. Um, and I mean, I'm just gonna say it sounded still shit. And my camera just went off. Why did it go off?
right as you right as you
Yeah.
said it, it went off.
Well, I'm
Your
going
camera
Curse,
to.
was
man.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
your
You
I'm going to.
overheat?
Maybe. We're gonna
your
find
ca-
out.
your
But
camera
anyway,
disagrees with you.
I'm gonna keep talking while I figure it out. Um, the um, the issue I have is that people. I've been selling these PRS guitars, and all of the trade offers I have been getting are nothing but pointies or seven strings or high gain amplifiers. No
Right.
one's out here trying to trade for a PRS, trading you know, I don't want to use the term normal guitars, but you know what I mean, like more standard fare. All of the people that want the PRS guitars I've tried to sell and trade are trying to give me these like crazy high gain butt rock things. You know. So yeah,
Joan
I
got you.
obviously showing that pride. I'm going to fix my camera. Y'all discuss.
So,
Well, I think that
is it pride, or what, did your camera cancel you?
maybe both.
I, I,
Uh,
I
I don't know because like here's the thing. I think company wise, the people at PRS are probably out of the big three the best.
mhm. Oh,
Like
for sure.
the
Oh, one
yeah
100%. I will say 100% from because the other two don't exist.
yeah.
I mean, like Gibson at least semi exists. I could not tell you offhand who. I could not tell you anybody in who's the face offender. That's what I'm trying to say. Is I don't know who the face offender is
There is
for
no
P
face
or
offender.
for there's no. I mean, I guess I don't know offhand who I'll always remember Mark Agnesi, but
Yeah.
I forget who
Play
is
authentic.
the Gibson is not it's not JC anymore. It's the other guy, right? But I
Hmm.
know at least
Cesar.
I know at least there is another guy. Fender is a Fender is a amorphous blob of union busting corporate anyway.
Yeah.
See, but that's the thing though. I think people love Fender guitars because they have that vibe, and like the bands that you see associated with them, the artists that you love, like right now that are
Hmm.
I would argue that are the most relevant are associated with Fender guitars, and you don't really
Sure.
see that with a lot of other brands. Like another brand is like Harmony. I think they have the look and the aesthetics, and it's just like and they sound and play great,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
there's not a lot of people playing them.
Yeah. Yeah.
The PRS thing, like you said, the whole face of a company thing. Gibson has a bit of an issue with that too. Even though you sort of know who the face is, and I think the face is even beyond the owner, CEO, or whoever is like the corporate person. It's the artist as well, right?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
Gibson, as much as I get frustrated with the constant slash worship, um, and we've made enough jokes about it. We don't need to go down that road. But Slash is kind of the face of Gibson, if we're really honest.
From that perspective, sure, but
From
I'm
an artist
you know,
perspective, PRS has John Mayer as sort of the face of PRS.
right, right.
Who's the face of
I,
Fender
I,
as an artist anymore?
oh,
Artist
that's
face offender.
I think Fender has a multitude of faces. Like right now, like at the Super Bowl time, there was a Her Strat that popped off.
Yep.
Like everybody was like, that popped off. You know, as far as the world of offsets, you know, you still have Jay Mascis. Like, you know, and to be real, I think on a music culture level,
Hmm.
Jay Mascis comes across cooler than Mark Tremonti, even though Mark Tremonti might be in the bigger band. Like it's just the cred. Like I personally, I think I think Fender has a bunch of different artists. I think they have a bunch of different artists that rep their gear that you could still love. Like even if you look at like the heavier scene, you have like a band like Loathe who blew up and they're playing
Hmm.
Gretchen Fenders. Like I think the thing too is just like outside of their recent um right or outside of their recent price increases, Fenders old Fenders on the used market are still relatively affordable, more so than the other two brands. So that kind of feeds into it. I think they're just more like, and I say this as a person who loves his Jazz Master, and that is my favorite guitar. It does the thing, and like for me, it's also with it's also everything that I've seen. Like all my favorite artists, like most of them play Fenders. I like very few of them play Gibsons or PRS. And
Yeah.
like I think the thing is like PRS is perfectly positioned to reach out and like miss
Hmm.
that because I don't know if Gibson will because Gibson's leaning into the whole lifestyle company and slash but PRS can like if they get more artists in the indie crowd like that are
Sure.
relevant today, I think they could have a resurgence bigger than what new metal was, like, bigger than they were with new metal.
Hmm.
I
A couple things. One, the face of Fender right now is Tom DeLonge.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know how we
yeah, I
forgot
could
Tom
say
DeLonge.
that. I could say that.
Two, I'm looking through the Fender artist list, and one of their musicians. This is the white guy moment for the week. One of their signature artists is Raphael Sadiq, and I don't know who that is, so I looked it up, and I just learned that the members of Tony aren't all named Tony, and that's a little awkward.
You mean Raphael, Dwayne, and Timothy?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Apparently. So there's that.
so
Anyway,
so let's
but that goes back to the idea like there isn't necessarily a single musician face offender. I don't know if that's good or bad. I think in the context we're talking about, where it seems like it's mostly bad.
yeah.
Well, I don't know. I would argue that it's good because the thing is, I think Fender has their ear to the ground on what players are popular. Like, Tom DeLonge, Blink
Fair,
182.
yeah,
Like most of
yeah.
those, most of those people are like, as much as I love Radiohead, right now Tom DeLonge is more influential to the Starcaster currently than Johnny Greenwood, which is kind of weird to think.
That hurts my feeling.
It hurts my feelings too, but
Your
it's
one and
true. Like,
only, Steve. Your one and only feeling.
My one feeling.
It hurts your feeling.
Yeah.
But I mean, like the thing is like John Mayer. Outside of John Mayer, as far as PR, it's like who can you really name that to a to anyone within their 20s to I would say 40s that's really
Hmm.
relevant to that crowd.
Oh, you don't think Miles Kennedy is super relevant?
Oh yeah.
Or Zach Myers,
Outside of
or
the
Is that
butt rock crowd.
right? Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
This thing from Kaz, I think this thing here from
uh
Kaz.
huh.
Every brand should have a dozen faces for each genre. We're not getting new bands though. I think to an extent that's true. I think that there are um uh there's also I think there's a lot of space for that. And I think there are things that are popping up that I think is really interesting, like the bass player for the I don't know, I should know her name, but she's a bass player for Olivia Rodrigo, has kind of, in my opinion, put like the Gretsch semi-hollow bass on the map. Like if you
Mm.
the problem is the kind of people who are watching like Olivia Rodrigo live videos probably for the most part aren't
You
people
talking
who
about Moa
also watch
Munoz?
guitar YouTube. What's that name?
Moa Munoz.
I
I may be
maybe.
mispronouncing it, but
Mm.
yeah, that's her. Um, I
Oh
I
yeah, yeah,
I want to talk about this for a second though, because I think every brand having a dozen faces for each genre, it's just not possible. That's there's
sure,
that's too
sure.
many genres, too many faces. Um, you got some genres that are just too small to even get you a dozen. If you get a
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
dozen, you've got every guitarist in that genre. Um, I think you've got to narrow it down. You got to be more strategic about it. Um, I I think I kind of like the way people are doing it. I don't mind there not being a ton of artist signatures for a
Sure.
bunch of artists, because honestly the last thing we need last thing we need is another signature artist Stratocaster.
Well, I'm
The
not even
last
thinking
thing
about.
that but yeah, you just need artists playing the guitar. That's what
Yeah,
the big deal is.
I'm not thinking of just like artist models. I feel like there is a thing of like, how do you can you bring on artists to promote the brand who and Fender was doing this during COVID, during like the bulk of the pandemic, where when there's not a Biba Doobie signature model, but they were doing a ton of promotion with her. They did a whole like live concert or like a recorded concert with her. Um and so there are things like that where it's like, look, these companies should be bringing on artists and promoting artists where they're going to say, look, we want you to be involved with our marketing. You're not at a signature guitar level maybe, but let's do some promo there, and let's put your
Yeah.
face out there.
I think this comment, no new bands, we said that a little bit ago. What we mean is not that there are no new bands, because there are a shit ton of new bands. We can't list all the new bands that are going up every day on Spotify. What we mean are the artists that sort of rise to the point of ubiquitous across the musical landscape. Most people know who they are, regardless of listening to that genre or not. That's what guitar companies try to look for. It's like, who's the name you're gonna know, um, regardless. John Mayer, people know who he is. Um, I learned who Jay Mascis was through the
Hmm.
signature, but he's obviously, just because I'm not into that music, he's massive, huge.
Yeah,
What we don't have is enough artists getting to that point anymore.
sure, sure.
I I think the thing too is I think music has been, it's not as, I think it's more compartmentalized than it was, because like you can look at like the metalcore scene and they all kind of play the same guitar and they all kind of have this uniform look, but very few of them are very few of them that get their signature model from whatever brand you want to include.
Right.
Um,
Hmm.
Very few of their signature models appeal to other people outside of their demographic. Like,
Right.
whereas again, the J Mascis, like the Squire J Mascis Jazz Master, everybody from Tame Impala to some of the heaviest of bands was playing that guitar because it was a good guitar.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that's the thing. Like, yeah, we know. Like, I would, just because I love, again, I love Jazz Masters. I would love to see a her take on the Jazz Master, and like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that would that would make me be like, oh, maybe I do need to try this. And you know, and I think, or you know, maybe like, because I know they've PRS has tried, actually Vernon Reed had a signature Vela, but it was more so geared towards his music. And it was like, oh, for me, it was like, once it has a Floyd on it, it's an instant killer. I'm like, no, I'm
Yeah,
not
I know.
interested. So, but I think I think a lot of those bands is just like, because you can look at bands that are coming up now, and like a band like Whitelands, who was on tour with Slow Dive, younger band,
Mm-hmm.
all people of color, um, and you know, that's a band. I'm like, man, like, I don't know if they're sponsored, so this is, I'm assuming they're probably not, but I could be wrong. But if I were PRS or Gibson, I'd be looking at that band, and I'd be looking at bands like them, not necessarily sonically, but size wise, where you know their cred does go a long ways, and I'd be trying to get my product in their hands, and I, you know, I wouldn't be cutting them like an artist deal. I'd be like, hey, here's my guitar, do you like this, play it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's
I'm
it.
looking at
Just give it
I'm
to them.
looking at the I'm looking at the iHeartRadio charts right now. There is one artist. I'm looking at the active rock chart, which is I don't know what that is. There are a few artists, I guess. Someone actually in the chat just I think just mentioned The Warning, which is a
Yep.
band I'm not familiar with. But the number one rock song in on the iHeart charts is a song by Godsmack. Number two is Five Finger Death Punch. Number four is Metallica. Number five is Billy Morrison and Ozzy Osbourne featuring Steve Stevens. Number seven is Beartooth. Like that's cool. Number nine is Pearl Jam. And number 11 is Green Day. And if you jump over to the alternative
What was number
chart,
10?
it
You
doesn't.
skipped 10.
Oh, I've been skipping the ones that are actually artists that
Oh,
I'm
gotcha.
not, that aren't like 40 years old. So
Yeah,
like The
that aren't
Warning is
legacy
on here.
artists.
Beartooth is on here. From Ashes to New. I don't know who From Ashes to New is. And the number three song is a band called Nothing More, which I've never heard
Mhm.
of. Um, but
I
it,
know them by name, but I can't
wait,
think of their music.
Sleep Theory is the name of a real band?
Yes.
I've been in a lot. Okay, I've been in a group chat where we've been like talking about sleep theory, and I just thought one of the guys in the chat didn't know that they were called Sleep Token. So this whole time I've been making fun of him because he said sleep theory. I didn't know that was actually a band. So that's awkward. On the alt charts, it's kind of the same problem or the same thing where it's like number one, Green Day, number two, Imagine Dragons. Number three is Royal Otis, who I don't know who that is. So I looked them up and they're listed as a pop duo. Also, their number three song is a cover of Murder on the Dance Floor,
Oh.
which Murder on the Dance Floor is having a moment again because of its feature on show was it? There's some show recently that it's it sucks. I can't remember, but it was in some TV. Oh, it's in Saltburn, not TV show, movie. It's
Oh,
in
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Saltburn.
God,
Um,
I'm so sad I watched that movie.
Cage the Elephant, Hosier. Oh, Dejo. Are you familiar with Dejo?
No.
No.
Dejo is Joe Keery's uh, stage name, as in Joe
Oh.
Keery from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, he's number six. Foo Fighters, Glass Animals, which Glass Animals is newer. Glass Animals is actually probably a band that should have be the face of some guitar brand. Some
Yeah.
41 Kings of Leon. So in the top 10 there are like three new artists, and one of those is a cover.
Yeah,
Like
and the rest are legacy artists.
so
Well,
I
I
and I know people are gonna say like, oh well, you gotta dig below the charts. I get it. The
Okay, no,
reality for
you
me is that I just don't listen to guitar music a lot anymore. I am about 2/3 of the way through the new Sabrina Carpenter album, and it's not even new. It came out last year.
so you got to dig to get through to the newer artists, but also you're talking about the things that are widespread enough to hit the charts when you're
Yeah,
looking for things
yeah.
like signature artists or I think you're right. I think the biggest trick is to start getting guitars into the hands of bands. Period. Whatever that
Hmm.
takes. If there's a band out there that started to get a following, get your guitars in their hands. If that means giving them one guitar, and
Sure.
just count it as advertising loss if they decide not to use it. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
so talking about the whole getting a, you can get a Fender, says Fender on the headstock, for $700. Epiphone is great right now, and them moving to the new heads, to the proper headstock, is going to be big. I don't mind playing a guitar which says Epiphone on the headstock. They're great guitars.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I do think that is one of those things that has driven that perception difference between Gibson and Fender, is that the approachable version of Gibson doesn't say Gibson, it says Epiphone.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah. No,
Fender
that's
made
true.
in Mexico says Fender.
Yep.
Uh, Before, let me answer Doyle's question. Uh, the who would buy a well, the Tom DeLonge Starcaster sold out.
Yep.
His Strat sold out. The Dave Grohl 335 sold out. Like, people would buy signature
Uh,
guitars if they're
that's a
from there.
that's a Luther Dickinson signature guitar. I have a Jason Isbell signature Telecaster in the other room. Um,
Uh, Also, the Larry Carlton Jazz Masters, or whatever they're
the
called,
Sire.
uh, yeah, they're on back order. People would buy signature guitars if they give them different options. I think my thing is, so it's not more so people won't buy them, because I think Phil McKnight said it perfectly. Part of the reason people buy signature guitars is because they're limited quantities most of the time, and so their resale value holds true for the most part.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
I I I personally think, like, with Gibson, it's just like, look at who they released their signature models for. Like, the Pantera bassist just got his.
Yep.
Tool, like, and that's, right now, I think I would use the analogy, they're always like 30 years relevant as far as the past, 20 to 30 years
Sure.
relevant. Like, so it's just like, but so it's just like, by the time we see I feel like Gibson needs to break that trend of, by the time we see some of the artists that are relevant today,
Hmm.
they'll get their signature models 30 years from now.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
I think they're starting to try though. There's the Kingfish Telecaster. There's the Isbell Telecaster. Um, the Her Strat. They're really trying to hit some newer artists that are coming out. Um, that I think are great guitars. I in Gibson has not done that as well. They've tried it a little bit, but it's always something weird, like Nathaniel Rateliff acoustic. I'm like,
see,
okay, I get it.
here's what we need to do. I'm gonna give Uncle Paul a call. I'm like, listen,
Hmm.
we're gonna do a Jason Mays signature Vela. We're gonna put Jazz Master pickups and a Master Reaver
You
trim
lost
on
me.
there,
You lost me.
and we're going. And Paul, hear me out. I know we love the birds, but we're gonna do dots. Hear me out.
But that's a
And
surprise. I'm surprised because the birds is like such a signature thing, and I've never. It's my own perspective. I've never had strong opinions on the birds, so whenever I hear people who do have strong opinions about the birds, it's really surprising to me. Like it
I
yeah,
always blows
I
my mind a little.
The one and
well
only
I
PRS I have, and it looks like I'm keeping, doesn't have birds, and that was by
well
design.
no, like, I'm indifferent towards the birds. Like, I know a lot of people like, oh, I hate the birds. Like, I'm indifferent towards it, but I just prefer the classy dot look if I had to pick one. Like, if I'm
Yeah.
Right.
like my Vela has birds, and I think it actually, I think with this color the white satin and the black guard,
Hmm.
the birds, it works. It's aesthetically pleasing. But I've
Hmm.
seen, like, certain models, like, where, like, if they were like seafoam green with the birds, it's just be like, I don't hate it, but I think that color would look better with dots. But that's just me.
Both of my main guitars. So both of my, like, I need to go do a gig tomorrow. I'm
Hmm.
taking guitars are ES335s with dots because
Mm.
I like the dots. Some people hate them. I know they think, oh, it's too simple or it looks cheaper. I like the dots. It's
I think
super simple.
I think Coyote Stardust has it right. Birds for some, dots for others.
Yep.
No,
But
no, I mean that's fair. Yeah,
Gonna scroll back here, catch a couple of things.
I
Hello,
do want to say
Amanda.
I was just about to do some hellos,
Yeah.
but it looks like you're on it.
Yeah, I'm going back. I'm making sure we say hey to folks. Hey, Amanda, who is always here for these live streams. Thank you very much. Also, I want to mention this one. So, this is my take. Tell me what you think, guys. So, no, the headstock doesn't affect tone, at least not in that way. It's a 3 on a side headstock on a mahogany
Fender
neck. It's fine.
disagrees.
I know. Three on a side. Gibson and Epiphone are both 3 on a side headstocks on mahogany necks. I need to like the way a guitar looks to make me want to play it.
exactly.
Sure.
That's it.
That's
It
no
doesn't
like
affect tone. You're right. In fact, a lot of other guitars sound great, but if I hate the way they look, I don't want to pick them up.
exactly. And like here's the thing for me working at Guitar Center and this is part of the reason why I love working with kids because I tell them straight up like the most important thing for you is to like how it looks. If you don't like
Yeah,
how it
yeah.
looks, you're not going to play it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, everything after that is important, but this is the most important thing because I was like, everything else can be adjusted
Yes,
Yeah.
everything
somewhat.
else can be fixed. You could like here's the deal. Bottom line, from I won't say the cheapest, but from very affordable guitars to the highest end guitars, everyone's making great guitars now. The average for how good a guitar is has gone up so much in the last 20 years that
Yeah,
find the guitar
yeah.
you like the look of and you're going to be able to you probably can make it work.
Mm.
Also, Sassy, I love that you like the Birds, specifically the band. Um, couple
Yeah,
of things.
we just learned that this recently with this whole that company that photoshopped their guitar into Rebecca Lovell's husband's
Oh
hand.
yeah, yeah. I
Ryan and
saw.
I talked about that on Monday, so I don't want to get into it too
Oh,
much.
I got you. I got you. Got you. Yeah. So saying hi. The Telecaster headstock is too iconic for me to hate it. Because in my head that is guitar. So I understand though.
Hmm.
Cody Star hates the 4+2 Music Man. You know what I hate? I hate their 3+1 bass headstocks. I hate them so much. Why does the G string need to be on the other flipping side? It
I mean,
doesn't make sense.
it doesn't need to be.
Right, I hate it. I hate it. I'm with you, Coyote. It took me 5 minutes for me to recognize Jason, and I'm subbed to his channel. It's okay.
Hey, it's okay. I mean, honestly, I kind of like it better that way.
Well, this is brighter. This is brighter than your usual aesthetic. You use a little darker theme. So, let's see. Joe agrees. She needs to have the aesthetic and sound. Same for effects pedals. I'm a little more forgiving with effects pedals because I'm gonna step on them, but I won't buy. Oh, I know that's not even true either. It takes a lot for the aesthetic of a pedal to deter me. Let's just put it
I
that
agree
way.
with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
but it can happen. Like if it's just all like skulls and like dark imagery, I'm like, you know what? That would have been. I'd have loved that when I was 17. I'm not that anymore. Um,
Well, I think the thing for me is like, I mean, I don't use a lot of wahs, but like if the
Hmm.
wah that I do love is a Dime Crybaby from Hell, and I was like, with its camoed out appearance, I was like, if I was just judging it on looks, I totally would not play that.
right.
Sure,
Fair.
sure.
Totally fair. Um, let's
And
see. Yeah, looks are the most important. Y'all started
sat in
commenting
America.
like crazy.
Sorry, in terms of the capitalistic society we live in, looks are the most important
They
thing.
are. They are.
I don't
Carcosa
agree
is
with
the
it. I don't think
ugliest,
the
best.
rules.
So I love the Carcosa. I love the graphic of the Carcosa. But I think to love the Carcosa, you have to also have read H.P. Lovecraft. Because it is an H.P. Lovecraft reference. So,
Wait, you're saying it's a bad pedal because it's an HP Lovecraft? I'm just
No,
kidding.
he's yeah, no.
Wow.
I mean, it's there, but I feel like or if you don't want to watch H.P. Lovecraft, you can watch or read Lovecraft Country, which is a really great
Mm.
modern take that I think shows respect to the creativity of H.P. Lovecraft, but kind of corrects it for a modern audience. It's really really good if you haven't seen it or read it. The TV show is a little, the book's better. Insert typical librarian take right there. Um, so we're gonna take this. So Muj de Bruyn says, Mark de Bruyn says that the Carcosa is the ugliest, best sounding pedal of all time. What is the ugliest readily available pedal out there? I don't mean a one-off. I don't mean like a limited series of 5. What's the ugliest guitar pedal that you could go buy at a store today?
Oh man.
Oh, damn! I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Um, oh, I can. The Gamma pedals.
Oh yeah, and you see a lot of those, don't you?
Oh yeah. I
They're
I
just
just
boring. You think they're ugly?
I think they're ugly. I just don't think there's. I think they're both boring and ugly. There's just nothing visually appealing about them. I think the font is just like, oh, like I understand they're supposed to be the inexpensive brand,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but they could put a little bit more effort into the looks. Like, I mean, if you're gonna sell at a lower price point, like how in the hell are you going to be in the $50 price point and Moore and Amazon brands look better than you? Like, to me,
Yeah.
it's just like, if I'm spending, if I'm spending that much on a pedal, like, you know, and it's just like, hey, I'm looking for a clone, I want, you know, would I buy the ugly clone versus the one that looks cool if they're going to sound the same and they're not offering anything different?
My question is that name supposed to mean something?
uh,
Gamma? Am I supposed what's the takeaway here?
that's a good question.
Like why I don't understand. I just don't know what it like what's it supposed to is there it doesn't have to have a meaning.
I don't
I
know.
just want it to have meaning.
Yeah, I think it was just because like gamma rays and just it felt like a sciency name for it. To be honest, um, so I'm gonna have a hot take that people are gonna be really hate me. I
Shoot
think the jam
me.
pedals are ugly.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like them.
Let me ask you this though: do you like the band Fish?
It take it or leave it. I appreciate them, but I can't listen to anyone play for 30 minutes on one song.
See, I think
I
the jam pedals are the visual equivalent to the band Fish.
I
Oh,
could see
okay.
that.
I
I
can
see
see
that.
that.
No, I totally dig that. I can make that correlation. I don't like them. They don't look. I don't know. They don't look like horrible, and some of the newer ones are better than some of the ones I've seen in the past. But that hand painted aesthetic just doesn't always get me. Um,
I mean, I think now that they're back, um, Full Toto CD has got to be
oh, it's so
way
horrible.
up that list.
Oh
Just
yeah.
that sort of Comic Sansy thing going on, and
Yeah.
um, but I feel like that's like an easy one. I don't know. I refuse to own ugly pedals, so I don't really know a lot about them.
You wanna?
I
Well, I
probably
mean,
have.
That's an ugly pedal. That just.
that still looks better than the Gamma.
Yeah, there's a reason that you have it now and I don't.
I know. Thank you very much. It is still better than the Gamma. The Gamma's ugly due to its just like simplicity and DGAF nature. They
But I
they
mean,
didn't try.
that's the thing. I think you nailed it because I did a AMA on Instagram and someone brought up Strymon and I was like,
Mhm.
no, I think Strymon's uniformity it makes them distinct, and it actually looks visually
I
appeasing.
love uniformity across a pedal line. I
I don't
love it.
I don't think
Um,
you
But
can say that. The thing with Strymon is it's kind of a boring aesthetic overall, but they were they the first one to do that rounded edge pedal? It feels like
yeah,
yes.
they
Yep.
were,
yeah,
and then a whole bunch of other brands followed suit.
So
So they
I'll
were
give you
onto something.
I'll give an example. I have a couple of Mythos pedals here, right? And
Hmm.
this is from the era before he started getting kind of uniform with his graphics and aesthetic. This
That's why it's
pedal's
worth $400.
well, I did not pay that much for this, thankfully. This is it's fine. It's not like the most aesthetically pleasing pedal in the
Sure,
world.
sure.
But then a couple of years ago, he refined his aesthetic to this. He puts the logo on
Hmm.
the bottom.
Hmm.
He does the line with the name, and this I like a lot more. It's simple. It's easily recognizable. I see this on a pedal board from 30 feet away. I know what it is. And I love when a brand is recognizable. And
yeah.
if you get too far away, you start trying to get too creative, it loses something for me. But that's just me. I realize that's a personal I don't know if that's a neuroses or what, but
Yeah,
Uh,
and I guess my thing is I just wish like the can I curse on this?
yeah, I've already
yeah.
said shit like four
I
times.
Yeah, I just feel like the gamma pedals come across like they don't give a fuck, like they don't
Yeah.
give a shit. It's like we're here, this is how we look. Like, wow, never mind. I can make a comparison, but I don't want to get fired. But 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 yeah, like I just think I think it depends on the manufacturer because like I love the uniformity in Chase Bliss, but they also are very visually appealing. They're
Yes.
very
Oh
nice
yeah.
to look at. Um, and there are brands that do that. Like, but on the other hand, like I like the uniformity of JHS, but I'm always kind of confused because I don't know what the hell the pedal is. Like
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
X, so it's just like okay, a shotgun with a Moog.
Yeah, I don't like that. I need to also don't give me um don't give me visual whatever graphical complexity at the expense of understanding functionality.
So that's why you hate Caroline pedals.
They do that a lot. I
See
don't
on
hate.
it.
I
Well,
love
see,
them, but they do that. Orange
They do
amps
it
do that.
exclusively.
we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see. We'll see. Though I think. Hear me out on this. I think Caroline Pedals does that really well. So like it, but maybe it's because I'm showing a bias, but
Yeah.
I love the lo-fi aesthetic of that. Like
Yeah, yeah.
with Orange, like I think if the visual like this, if I didn't like you have to like with Orange, I know they're typically a 3-band EQ, so it's like okay, I can
Hmm.
decipher this.
Right.
I know what the trim is. I know what the reverb is like because while they're while they're the signs leave a lot to be desired. If I didn't know planets, if I didn't know what those were, and I didn't know that Orange typically is a 3-band EQ with this, I would be lost as hell.
Yeah. Well, with at least with Caroline pedals, sure he does the aesthetic, the picture instead of the pictograph or whatever you want to call it, the hieroglyphics.
Sure.
They're relatively understandable.
Hmm.
Some of them aren't, and sometimes it's not because they don't use words. I'll give you an example. I've been tinkering with this pedal the last week or so. This is the Montreal Assembly Count to Five.
Oh, I love
Um,
that pedal.
it
I love.
you can get some great sounds out of it. But do you
Hmm.
know? Have you ever seen the manual for it?
Hmm.
Holy shit! It is so hard to read and understand
See,
how this works. I've found some great sounds on it, but it is really hard to understand the functionality of this pedal.
see, I'm laughing because I know how that pedal works really well, and like,
Mm.
but it's one of those things like, but that pedal's in my wheelhouse, so I
Yeah,
get
yeah.
it. So,
Well, you
but
you and I are gonna have. I'm gonna schedule a lesson because I want to understand more about how this thing works. But It's
I
complex. It's like if you need to adjust the scrangly grew, you turn this knob down and twist this knobby here, and like I'm like, oh my god, stop.
and I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this since I'm reading some of the comments. I agree that Chase Bliss has the best looking pedals by far. To me, there isn't an ugly Chase Bliss pedal. Like you can look at their big box
Mm-hmm.
series; they look so visually appeasing.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just like I feel the same way about Strymon. Like I don't think there's an ugly Strymon pedal, but I also don't think they're as you can tell. I don't think they're as visually distinct in the certain terms of like graphics.
I
Right.
love the I can't even pick up a Chase Bliss because they're on my little mini pedal board over here. But
Mm.
I always think it's funny that we uh, looking at Chase Bliss. I'm sorry, looking at Strymon and how much we love them, and I have to remind myself that they came from
Line
this.
6. Oh, the damage control
Damage control.
Yeah. Well, that didn't show up.
Ah, you broke it.
They came.
There it
No,
is.
that was a perfect example. They
There you
came
go.
from nothing.
They came from this.
Yeah,
Like,
Strymon was our damage control is making tube pedals.
yes, exactly.
And this is also the same team as freaking like the Line 6 stuff. Like it's the
Mhm.
Strymon is like what happens when damage control and Line 6 smash into each other. It's a really weird thing.
Yeah, I know this is a little pixelated, but how just satisfying is that? How satisfying is the aesthetic of a pedal board? This is so stupid. But I love just it all goes together. It makes it
Sure.
visually appealing
Yeah.
to me. It makes me want to play it. In fact, I have been known when putting together pedal boards to choose my pedals that I want to use based on like there are so many tremolo pedal options. Well, this tremolo pedal fits the size and aesthetic I want for this pedal board. Like there are very few pedals that I can't find a different option for that makes me happier to use it because I think it fits the space or aesthetic or vibe, whatever, better.
Is it
Mm.
that the damage control guys are X Line 6?
Yes, they went from line 6 to damage control to Strymon.
Oh, I didn't realize Pete Seeley traces all the way back to Alesis too. I'm
Oh,
I'm
wow.
reading that page you were just on. So Pete, who's like the main DSP guy, I think at Strymon,
Can I
started at
respond to Alan?
Alesis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Can I Alan, I disagree with that analogy. Only because Strymon is everywhere. I would argue that like Strymon is the Apple. Like if you want to do a guitar brand, they're probably the Fender of the pedal industry right now. Only because they're everywhere and like they hold their value.
You
I
want to
would
know
say,
who's the Apple? You want to know who's the Apple of the guitar world? Eventide.
you know what? I agree. I somewhat agree. Um, only because I just shot another H90 video. um, n- no,
I
no,
yeah,
I would think Strymon has Apple's uniformity on lock in terms of
yeah, I see
looks.
that.
I think Strymon is Apple in the sense that like even if you want to hate, like you think about the number of art like from no Strymon's Apple. You're wrong. Eventide is like I think Eventide is like the Linux
Okay.
of
You're
guitar
better.
pedals. Well, because the
You're
reason I
better
say that
than
is
me.
because like okay, you think about like Apple products, right? Like iPhones. How many people are like, yeah, fuck capitalism, fuck corporatism. Let me post this on Threads for my iPhone. Like, no matter how much somebody hates like corporations and whatever, like there's still a greater than 50% chance that they own an Apple product.
Mhm.
And that's Strymon. Like it
I,
doesn't matter what style of music you play, there's like a decent chance that you either own or you want a Strymon pedal.
yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
yeah. I would say Eventide is probably the Android.
See, no. So
no,
I had this
no. I take
opinion.
that back. I take that
That's
back.
fair. Eventide is too
Well,
expensive to be the Linux. That's fair.
Yeah.
yeah. I would say Boss is the Microsoft.
Oh yeah.
They're
No,
just everywhere on
absolutely.
everything.
Absolutely. It is the and I mean this pedal right here is the Windows sound recorder of pedals. I don't know why that was like the most
That's
ubiquitous terrible program I could think of, but um
that's the Windows ME. That's the Windows ME of the pedal world.
so the reason I made
Little tech humor.
the reason I made the analogy to Apple and Eventide is it mostly was an opinion I formed actually back with the H9. The whole
Exactly, Sassy
limited
Cat.
controls, very simple aesthetic, very straightforward. That felt very Apple. Um, Apple loves to. It looked like a big iPod, is what that thing looked like.
Well,
Mhm, mhm.
I think even what you just said, I think Strymon has better implementation of those features because I don't think there's a Strymon pedal that's complicated to use. But that's just me. Even including the big box pedals,
Yeah,
like the Big Sky MX, surprisingly got vastly easier to use compared to the Big Sky.
yeah.
But I think with Eventide, and I'm just using the H90 and the H9. I think they're more complex. And as a person, especially with the two algorithm implementation, I don't think they're easy pedals to use, but I think once you learn them, they're very sonically rewarding.
I
That's a sales pitch. That is
Yeah,
a sales pitch.
I love this one. Strymon is a blues lawyer brand. No, it is absolutely not. I have I have never, as someone who ran sound at a blues club for a long time, has played a lot of blues festivals. The only Strymon pedal I've ever seen show up on a blues player's board is the Flint.
Mm.
That is it. Um, I I don't get that at all. I love Strymon pedals. I think they sound great, and I think you could be a blues lawyer with them. But most blues people aren't going Strymon.
Well, I made this argument somewhat out on someone else's podcast on why I started why we started this channel. But my whole thing is like, what blues lawyer do you see like with a big sky?
None.
I mean, that's church, that's church players. But like,
Yep.
what blues I don't think, you know, I think you might see them with an iridium if they're that kind of blues lawyer, but that's
Maybe.
Sure,
very
sure.
rare.
Why do
But
I need a reverb pedal when I got reverb on my Fender Twin? You
yeah,
know what I mean?
I
It's
mean, it's a
like
damn good reverb
it's a
too.
damn good reverb. But yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
Strymon is ambient, indie, church boards, those kinds of
which
things.
which is funny because I love Strymon and I'm just like, oh, I'm an atheist and it's just like, so I'm the
Yeah.
so I'm the I should be the anti Strymon.
Is realtor the profession for the praise and worship folks with money? Praise and worship realtor
Yeah,
is that where that
Oh
is?
my gosh.
I want I actually now I'm wondering how many praise and worship people do I have subscribed to like both channels.
Probably a
Probably a
lot.
lot because
Yeah,
of the stuff you cover. It's funny because
yeah.
the stuff you cover plays right into that wheelhouse. So,
No, I know,
um,
and I'm over here thinking like, oh, this will destroy you, and like bands
Yeah.
like that. And I'm just
yeah, yeah.
like, nah. But I don't know, what would that make Walrus?
Ooh, what is Walrus Audio? I feel like Walrus. Pick a company that started out as a niche and became mainstream.
Hmm.
And to answer Andrew's point, I think Line 6 is the Android uh, of the pedal world.
Agreed. Agreed.
Really?
I think so too.
Yeah, I think line 6 would take that because they have a product at every price point that's derivative. And I hate to use the term derivative because it comes across as a negative way,
It's
but
not.
everything they have right now is a derivative of the Helix in some way. But it's the
Is
Helix at different price points.
is Wal is I don't know
Oh,
if
Ryan for
Walrus
the win.
is Patagonia. Is Walrus? Why is Walrus Patagonia? Are they donating a lot of? I don't know. I don't. I was gonna say
Wow.
Walrus. I was gonna say Walrus is Blizzard.
Oh man,
Yeah.
you're staying in the gaming world for that one. I could see that.
Every
Um,
few years they have some scandal that involves women.
and they keep trying to come up with new IPs, but really all anyone's doing is playing Call of Duty.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for them, it's World of Warcraft still,
No,
right?
no
Or
Call of
Overwatch.
Duty, Activision.
Oh,
They're
because
they're
of
Activision
Activision.
Blizzard. Yeah,
Oh
World of
man, if we're
Warcraft
gonna
is
go,
like this much of their audience, and Call
Yeah.
of Duty is their big moneymaker. So
oh man, if we're gonna go gaming reference,
Now, I will say, like Colt does, at a personal level, give big Patagonia vibes.
oh yeah, yeah. No,
Like
I
he doesn't own an Apple Watch because he owns a Garmin.
wait, what is it? What's the North thing again?
North Face, the
North
North
Face.
Yeah,
Face.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would say that
the North
they're
Face.
just
I could see that. I get that vibe. All right. Now that we're just naming equivalent pedal brands into other brands, TC Electronic is Ubisoft.
oh my god.
Uh,
Wait,
Well,
is Ubisoft still good? I don't
yeah,
know.
I mean they still make
You're-
Assassin's Creed, so
so what would that make Behringer?
Behringer is
Bloober Team.
Minesweeper. It's Minesweeper.
No, Behringer's Bloober Team.
I don't even know what that is, Jason.
Yeah, what's
Bloober.
that?
Put it like this: just look up the new Silent Hill 2 remake. That's the team behind it, and it looks like ass. And they haven't had no. Behringer's Konami. No, 'cause
No,
Metal
don't
Gear.
you dare put that voodoo on Konami. That is an OG video game company that deserves some respect.
Who's the company? No, see, the thing is I think you guys are thinking too big. I was gonna say Behringer is King Digital, the Candy Crush
Yeah.
people.
Oh yeah.
That's 100%
All they're-
accurate.
All they're doing is making the same, like, I mean, in that case they're not even making things that are different, but it's just like making the same thing over and over again.
All right, so moving on from this because it's gonna get ludicrous really, really, really quickly.
Hold on, the Pong of Petals is 29.
Really? You
Yeah.
think 29 pedals is
Because of the simplicity of it. It's not a dig on 29. It's
Oh,
the
okay.
simplicity of the aesthetic. Their most complicated pedal is 2 knobs and 2 3 3-way switches.
Dang. Now I'm trying to think of one good gaming reference before we leave. So who would be the? I don't want to. Does that make Chase Bliss the Nintendo because they're always innovative?
Is Nintendo always innovative?
I apply this Nintendo, but that's the thing. Nintendo with the Wii, the Switch, system wise, and they consistently have good first party games. But they're not for like. I don't want to say. I don't know because now I'm just contradicting myself because I was like they're not like. I don't want to say they're not for gamers, but they're for the casual gamers, and I don't think Chase Bliss is for like
Exactly.
the casual.
And that's the
Yeah,
problem.
no.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna pick a Nintendo, Ibanez is Nintendo.
I mean, I know one of the things that people are already complaining about is the next Nintendo console is apparently just going to be a Switch with like a new screen or some shit. Like they're like barely upgrading anything is the rumor.
Yeah, I heard it's just like PS4 level graphics, and I was just like, cool.
Really?
PS6 is either PS4 or PS5, and I don't think it's PS5, but
If anything,
Nintendo,
Nintendo is the TC Electronic. Because I know that was a thing when TC Electronic released the Plethora, everybody was sitting there going like, cool, everybody else had this on the market like 5 years ago.
I agree with Alan. Boss would be Nintendo because they're simple, easy to use. You know what you're getting, and they're not going to put out anything that divides their market.
Although occasionally they try. I'm looking at you, Power Glove.
Hey, as a person who owned the Power Glove,
Same.
I take offense.
That thing was,
Sure it was a shit idea,
yeah.
but it looked fucking awesome.
It looked awesome, but it's complicated as
Bruh.
shit and barely worked.
I'm just saying. Do you know how badass I looked like as a kid? Being like, all right, you pull out your Nintendo controller to play Mario 3. Let me pull out my Power Glove.
Yeah, you got the Power Glove on one hand, the Duck Hunter gun in the other. You just
Actually,
Oh my God.
important question before we switch the topics.
Okay.
Though, who would be Sega?
whoa.
My first gut, my gut was Gretsch.
So for me, my gut was, but they've come back, so the analogy doesn't hold. They were going to be Ross, a company that once set the standard and then vanished off the face of the earth.
I mean, I just can't think of a pedal company.
Oh,
that's
Ross,
released-
like Ross pedals.
Yeah, Ross Pedals.
I just can't think of a pedal company that's released the pedal equivalent of Sonic 06. So I don't know. That was that bad. That it's just like
I feel like if you're going to say bad pedal, okay, worst pedal. We're going to do it. Worst pedal you've ever played.
No, hold on. Landon says Kiesel is Sega. That's interesting. I was gonna say, is Sega? Well, one, I don't know. Is Sega making a comeback?
they are actually
they
their
just
recent
programming?
games. Their recent games have actually been pretty good, and I think this surprisingly for a video game movie, Sonic has actually been pretty good.
I kind of
So,
see
so
this
what
one
I was
too.
gonna say is, hold on. Sega is DoD.
Oh.
I agree with that.
Okay.
I agree with that.
They
Yeah.
were really good, and then they were really bad, and then they were just kind of weird, and then they didn't exist, but now they're back.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can go with that.
All right,
right.
what's the next topic?
Worst pedal. Worst pedal
Of
you've
all
ever
time?
played. No, worst pedal you've ever actually played. For you. I'll preface that so that nobody
I've been a
loses their minds, even though they'll still lose their minds. Worst pedal
I've
for
been a
you you've
slam
ever
punk.
played.
I've been a
Ooh.
slam punk. It didn't even work, which was part of the problem. No, slam punk's pretty bad.
It was the Digitech it was the guitars from Disturbed. He had that
Oh,
signature
the
guitar-
weapon.
yeah.
The
I-
Dan
I-
Donegan weapon.
Yeah, I bought one of those because I was like, "Oh man, that's gonna sound just like their record." That's gonna be a pedal that sounds. And at the
So
time,
it's
I
gonna
didn't
also
want to.
sound bad?
Yes, but at the time, I was just like, so it's gonna be a good distortion because it was like, oh, 'cause
Right.
of and then I got it, and I was just like, he doesn't use this. There's no way.
Let me tell you a little secret, Jason, about the Eric Clapton's Crossroads pedal.
Oh,
He doesn't use that either.
that's a pedal.
So for me, the worst pedal I ever owned was the Digitech XP200.
Really?
Yeah, I hated that thing.
Is that the one that is like
It's in
super
the same
valuable now?
And it's in the same series. The XP200
Oh, okay.
is the modulator. And so they still go for, in my opinion, more than they're worth, but they don't go for the money that like is it the space station or whatever it's called?
Right.
I don't remember. But the XP200 had, oh, I love these. Hold on. I'm just going to share this screen real quick because here we go. So this was the XP200. Here's one for $300. It just had up and down buttons and an expression controller.
That's all you need.
Oh,
That's all every pedal needs.
if you want to know where all the settings, what all of the different patches are, Oh, it's on the bottom of the pedal.
Ah,
That's real good. So it had 6 rotary speakers, which are all a different shade of terrible. Um, had chorus, flanger, phaser, vibrato, tremolo, auto panner, and volume. The volume pedal was fine. Um,
mhm.
it just
The most basic function was
yeah,
fine.
it was fine. It just man, but like, there's a part of me that also is nostalgic about it and wants to get one again, just to be like, was it that bad? Was it truly that bad?
I'm
But
looking
You know,
around trying to figure out what my.
if we're going that route, and hi Landon, I love Landon Bailey. He is
yeah,
awesome.
me
I
too.
love I love Landon, but like if we're gonna go with especially what Mark said, late '90s, I'm gonna say the Digitech Gen X, the GNX or whatever it was pronounced as the Gen X. You know, the extreme era. It
Mm-hmm.
was
Oh
GNX. I
yeah.
remember I just remember getting one of those thinking it was supposed to be super cool, and I could not make a sound out of it outside of the presets, and it was just ass.
Yeah,
Yep, that thing.
like many things, Gen X, not very cool at all.
yeah. Yeah, I was not into these at all. I could not.
Like
What's under the
this is when
floorboard?
I didn't know shit about music, and this is literally going into Guitar Center and be like the dude be like, yeah, this is awesome. This is what you need as a multi effects,
Mm-hmm,
and I'm like, you motherfucker, you lied to me.
mm-hmm.
So, um,
I feel like I knew someone who got decent out of one of these.
Mm, I could never.
I couldn't
And
either. But also, there's other people who get decent sounds out of a lot of things that I can't get a good sound out of. So, I can't really say much there. Steve, what was yours again, so we can actually look at it?
What did I say? Oh, the Ibanez Slam Punk.
Let's
That one was
see.
pretty. It's one part of the Sound Tank
Oh,
series.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Notice I did not say the Roadkill, which I had one of those that I
Mm.
got from y'all from the Wheel of Pedals. Yeah, that man. I know that some people have gotten really nostalgic about these Slam Punk, not Slam Punk, but the Sound Tank pedals.
Yeah.
They're just
Well, I think the TS5 is a TS808.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm
Like so
fairly
there's
certain it is.
so there are certain things where um there's these older, I think the TS10 and the TS5 were kind of like these weird overlooked Ibanez's for a long time, and then somebody was like, oh, by the way, these are exactly the same as like the other 80s.
Uh,
um
can
I guess the TS5 was early 90s, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
can I answer? Can I answer Snarky K's question?
Sure
Okay,
can.
I'm here. So what's wrong with the Eric Clapton Crossroads pedal? Besides Eric Clapton, everything else.
Right,
It
exactly.
like
that's all seems
It
accurate.
was
I
mm,
it was just bad. Like,
yeah.
there wasn't anything to like about it. Uh
I mean, he's kind of a shit person, and it's just like they made kind of a shit pedal. So I guess it's kind of real life representation. You literally get Eric Clapton in a box.
it
when
just
you when you
look at
Google
this
Eric
thing.
Clapton Crossroads pedal, the second result is riffs, beards, and gears on a video titled "Is this the worst guitar pedal ever?"
It's not wrong. I mean, first of all, it's Digitech trying to do a boss enclosure. First of all,
Well, they did and they were oddly sized. And so
yeah,
when these came out, I will say when these came out, this was also when people were really trying to like pancake cables kind of existed, but people were also experimenting with like the direct junction cables,
mm.
and
Oh
those
yeah,
pedals were just ever so slightly different size from Boss pedals to make them like where if you tried to use one of those cables, you would break one of the two pedals that you
or
plugged
both,
it into,
or both.
or
Mm,
hopefully both.
Yeah, I
yeah,
they're ugly. They're awful. They don't sound good.
this this was before the era of top mounted jacks taking off.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
As
Plot
someone
twist.
as someone who's from Clarksdale, Mississippi, I can really, really appreciate that joke.
I know. Plot twist.
Yeah.
Satan sent Eric Clapton.
Oh. Oh, okay. So going back a little bit, Michael Krause out here with the flex.
Oh damn.
He has
Oh
all of them.
oh my god.
I know. I'm like I said, there's a part of me that wants to try him again just to see if I was, just didn't know what I was doing, which is real possible. I still don't know what I'm doing, but I know a little more. So,
I mean, that's a good content though. That's good content. Like maybe we should revisit some of these older pedals and see if they hold up.
I
Like,
keep
are they
all
really that bad as we remember?
I keep almost
Yes.
rebuying my first amp, and I keep stopping, even though it's cheap. It's super cheap, sub $200, right? I still stop myself from doing it because I know that I'm doing it purely out of nostalgia, and that it was not a good amp, and there's
Yep.
nothing
One of
good
know,
about it.
one of the other weird things with the Clapton pedal that I forgot is it has an acoustic simulator on it.
Yeah, it does.
Mhm.
How else
You know,
are you
for
gonna get
that,
those tears in heaven sound?
That's what I was gonna say. You know, that change the world tone.
Yeah, it was awful. It was just not good. All right, that's enough bad pedal talk. What you guys want to move on to? What you got?
I know the Guitar Center thing came up. I just don't.
We don't have to
I'm
do it.
not.
I was
No,
just
we don't
poking
have
at
to.
you.
Yeah. Let's not do that because I ain't trying to get fired because I don't have my own personal Patreon yet. So
Fair, totally fair. Guitar. If you want, anybody wants to hear about Guitar Center, they can go back and listen to either my episode with Steve where we talked about it, or the 60 Cycle Hum episode where it got talked about a whole bunch. Neither here nor there. I actually went and talked to Jason McDougall, who I know is a listener of 60 Cycle Hum, who also works at a Guitar Center. Talked to him about it for a little bit too. I think there's good stuff happening there. It's just going to take a while.
no, Platinus, there's stuff I can't say
Yeah.
that I've been privy to, but there's one surprising move that happened. I'll tell you guys off camera.
Yeah.
But there's one surprising move that happened that I didn't think was going to happen, and I think is a very good indication of where Guitar Center could go.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we will talk about that. Off camera, not here. So,
Yeah.
Steve, what you got? Pick a topic.
Pick a topic. I was gonna. Here's a topic, Philip. How's that Supra trim doing for you?
Oh,
I don't know, man. I don't have I'm not good at topics.
Super Trim's
Actually,
great. Besides who made it, I mean, it's a great pedal.
could I suggest how about some of the people in the comments or give us a topic?
Yeah. What do you think? What do y'all want to talk about?
Oh, I know one. Actually, the whole YouTuber shill thing.
Oh, do we want to talk about that? How
Yeah, let's
every-
talk
Oh,
about that.
right.
YouTubers
Yeah.
never say negative things about things, except that we just talked about our least favorite pedals of all time.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jason. You do more demoing than me or Steve do.
I'm gonna say like this because I saw Henning's video and I agreed with it. I agreed with it. And the thing is, for me, one of the things he's touched on was like, be careful of people who are scripting, and I took that personally because it's just like Nelson, as you know, does
Mhm.
not like us to be off script because it makes his job harder. And a lot of the
Sure.
times, it goes. We tend to circle around the same thing over and over and say the same thing
Yeah.
if we're off
Mhm.
script, and then there's points that we miss. But I
So
I think it's
real quick for y'all watching and listening, Nelson is the editor over at Working Class Music who does all their video editing after the fact for them. And I can understand, as someone who hates video editing, why he would be like, stay on script so my job's not ridiculous.
yeah. I mean, but that aside, I think the notion that like guitar channels, like, because I think all of us, like, here's the one thing, or I guess the viewers might know and can kind of
Mhm.
tell is that like we're all friends. Everybody, mostly everybody is friends. And I can tell you that none of us are shills. Like, uh, I think the thing that attracts a lot of people to YouTubers are the personalities, and you can
Yeah.
definitely tell they're authentic versus the people that aren't. Now obviously there are the people at the top, who they've turned that into a career, and I wouldn't say they're shills per se, but I like how they've kind of gotten so much out of the review space, so they don't have to say anything negative, and
Right.
and but I think like I don't know. I think like I agree with him, and I think people thinking YouTubers are shills. I think that's just as a YouTuber, I think that's just bull because like I'm big boy broke right now, and like between all the articles I write and the videos I do, I
Oh,
don't see a dime.
oh,
Yes,
and
I
your
do get some
job.
of the yeah, and I was like, I don't see a dime. Like, so for me, it's just like, yeah, sure, I get to keep some of the gear, but I can tell you, the thin line, I mean, the PRS Vela to tie that back in the semi hollow. I damn sure didn't get to keep that. Like, that's going back.
Right.
That's going back to Uncle Paul. So it's I think, and I think the thing is, why, like, unless you're Glenn Fricker, why make a video on something you don't like? And even Glenn is doing it in a way where he's being objective. He's saying why this is objectively bad.
Right.
Like, I like on Working Class Music, we did the video on the Gold Foil Jazz Master, and ours was bad.
Yeah, y'all
Like the
didn't
one
y'all
we
didn't
got.
think very highly of it.
No, no. And the thing is, that isn't anything to say of the series. Um, Actually, I'm gonna go to Snarky K's comment. I'm gonna say this about Paul. I don't think Paul is a shill. After meeting him, I think Paul is just Paul. Like, if you meet him, that will make so much more sense.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I will say, as far as the big three guitar manufacturers, Paul is the most authentic, and I'm not saying that because of my relationship with PRS. Like, again, because I said earlier, I think the people at PRS are fantastic, and I think they're the most human out of the big three manufacturers,
Hmm.
and most approachable. I think Paul. I think Paul gets his bad takes because of, like, the tone with debate and whatnot, and it can come across very boomer, yelling at the clouds type thing. But on one hand, I'm just like, am I going to argue with the guy that, like, he's been doing this longer than I've been alive,
Right.
so he does have an idea of what he's talking about? And then but I'm on the other hand, like, where people are presenting these examples, like, I can't argue with that either. So I don't know enough to
I think with
counter.
Paul, just to continue that a little bit, I what I've gotten learned about him is that once I started actually get to, and I know people who know him. I've not met him personally, but people who know him and watching his interactions with people, he's just another gear geek like we are. Like, if you want, he'll happily start talking about his favorite amps that aren't PRS, his favorite guitars that aren't PRS. He just loves this stuff like everyone else, like all of
dude,
us.
dude, like, the thing is, like, with our interview, like, the off-camera shit with Paul, fucking awesome. There's a reason
Yeah.
why we call him Uncle Paul, because, like, the dude is like, he's like this. He legit is one of the few people, and this is why I'm saying he's not a shill. Like, I'll jump back to the YouTubers. He's one of the few people that can take criticism about his own products, and he always strives to make them better.
Yeah.
Like, I can legit say what I don't like if I'm doing a PRS video, I know that, and part of the reason why I've done so much of them is because I have the creative freedom to say and do what I want, and not have to worry about, like, oh, how is this going to affect this? Weigh the option of, like, oh, I might not never work with them again, and,
Yeah.
like,
Right.
that's one of the things that I enjoy about them. I think with YouTubers, I think if people are only like, because with Working Class Music, we kind of started with the mindset of we're only going to review things that we like. That doesn't mean we can't be
Hmm.
critical of them. But why would I subject, like, like, especially since there's four of us for you guys that don't know, and all four of us are trying to be more of a personality on the channel. Why would I do an episode on a pedal that I don't like that I know Xander loves? Like, unless
Right.
he wants the, unless he wants that contrasting view of someone who's into a certain kind of music that this pedal isn't geared towards, which is kind of which is kind of the antithesis of of my whole Wars analogy of like, well, blues lawyers were doing the slow, and I'm like, this super ambient pedal for like post rock and stuff, and I'm hearing
Mm-hmm.
blues licks through it. So I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. I don't think, especially within our community, I will say that YouTubers aren't shills. If anything, they're more like high school cliques. Everybody like like everybody has their group, and and we all get along and we all talk behind the scenes. And I don't think there's been a product that everybody has vehemently disagreed and hated, but you saw positive videos for. Like, I
Yeah,
don't think
no,
there's been a product.
I can't think of one.
I think there are products that get blitzes. Well, one thing that I think lends to this a lot, right? Um, one of the bigger, I guess, or more, they're not big, but more popular, like upstart brands from the last, say, 4 years is Firefly. And Firefly is one, they just clone the shit. They don't actually make anything original, but that's fine. Whatever. Like a lot of brands don't make anything original. They're an import company. They are, I believe, Chinese owned. They just have like a warehouse in Los Angeles, and that's how they do their US distribution. They mostly sell, they have occasional guitars on Amazon, but they mostly sell through, um, they mostly sell through their own website in limited batches. Every batch is different.
Yeah.
They have like minimum quality control. Their batches are usually improving from batch to batch. All of that being said, um, because they have this kind of all this batch to batch variability and minimum QC, it's very possible that in the same batch you have some really great guitars and some really garbage guitars. But I also know that there have been issues where they had an entire batch where I think the guitars didn't intonate. Of course, Gibson I think also had that problem. um but there are these things like that happen. So then people watch, like Ryan did some stuff with Firefly a few years ago. Guys like Daryl Braun and Guitar Max really hit these like Chinese import companies a lot, and they say really great things about them. um and then people buy them and find out that they run the gamut, and that maybe these guys just got lucky. Maybe they're shilling. Maybe they are truly shilling. I don't know. I know Firefly does not work directly with any YouTuber. I've talked to folks who have connections with them and said like, "Hey, why don't you guys work on this? Work with, brands." And they've literally said like every time we launch a batch, it sells out in a week. We don't
Yeah.
need we
Why
don't
would they
like
need? They don't
we don't
need
need
it.
to. And for us, because we get the push like, well, maybe Ryan should just buy some out of pocket. um and the thing is that, you know we don't buy out of pocket because there's no affiliate link for Guitars Garden. So that's a whole problem. Shifting to this point, the best review is from
Yeah.
someone who bought it and used it for a few years. I mean, I think there is something to that, and that is a hard thing because we do have this. Ryan Bruce put out a video, riffs, beards and gear.
Sure.
I can never remember. um a video a couple weeks ago that's kind of along these lines, talking about the cultural shift in the YouTube space. You two at least probably remember Gear Man Dude, and
Yeah.
that whole era of guitar YouTuber where it was just guys basically selling feet picks and playing
Oh, wow.
guitar. Except they weren't selling, right? But it's just a camera point. No one knew what Gearman Dude looked like
He looked like
until he was
Jack
like
Black, obviously.
See,
until he was like
uh,
12 years into his career.
uh,
Uh,
I'm going to reply to Mike Jones Mike
Hmm.
Jones, who? I'm going to reply to Mike Jones. I disagree, only because working music retail, which I can't believe I'm going to say this, there are a lot of times where I have to tech a lot of products that have just come out,
Yeah.
and if so I have to learn about them in a short time frame, and for me, that helps me learn about a product and be able to tell you whether you should get this or not, like,
Right.
or more importantly, objectively what could be better about it. But I think there is something to be said, but I also think that in the age that we're living in, like, if you look at the turnaround time for certain pedals, like, or the shelf life for certain pedals, it's similar to a console. And it's just like, okay, so like 3 years in, should I really be telling you like
Yeah.
how the PS5 is if you haven't bought it yet?
Sure.
Like,
Sure.
like,
So
That is a true thing, and when the if you wait 5 years to um I think that's if you wait 5 years to review, for example, the Fender Tone Master, it's not going to make any sense because
no.
it's like if you're trying to it's exactly like you said, like, oh, I bought the I don't if you reviewed the PS4 when the PS5 is coming out, it doesn't make it just it's a
I
tough thing. And I understand like the long term, like any of the guitars that I have back here, I don't think I bought like one guitar in the last 2 years. So, and some of these guitars I've had for many years. Um and so I can really like dig into it. But at the same time, imagine if you're trying to do this from like a career perspective and you tell Fender, like, hey, I'd love to review the new Steve Lacy Stratocaster. Can you send it to me? And if I still like it in 5 years, I'll put out a video. Like, no
right.
one's going to go for that. And so, I mean, I guess from a value point, like the most valuable, like if you just think about it that way, like the most valuable reviews are ones that are coming out like late. But on the flip side, like, sure, like it's not a business model.
So here's where I
uh,
think we really need to make the designation. We need to talk about the difference between a demo and a review. I Brand new products are really hard to do truly in-depth reviews on unless that company got it to you weeks or months before it came out. You played a bunch of gigs with it, you toured with it, maybe you whatever that product is, you spent a lot of time using it. Really, brand new products need new videos, and most of them are demos, not reviews. They may tell you who they think it's centered towards or who it'll be best for, but they're not really trying to tell you, hey, this is the best thing ever. At least they shouldn't be if they're honest. Like, for example, paid my own money for the Wampler Mafetta. I love this pedal. I think it's great. Can I give you a full review? No, because I haven't gigged it. It hasn't been on a pedal board. It's still shiny and new on the back. But I can tell you, hey, here are the features. Here's what it sounds like. Here's how I think I'm going to use it, and that'll give you an idea of. And that's what a lot of channels are, and that's who gets the gear a lot of times to build that hype. So there's lots of experiences with that pedal available for people, or guitar or amp insert.
thanks. I'm not going to engage too much with Mike Jones, but I will say this: we the idea of getting free gear is absurd, and Henning said the same thing
Yeah.
because there is a lot of work on my end. I can tell you, the amount of work that I do, like, and I'll throw myself out there. The Strymon Big Sky MX. I have to learn that pedal. I have to be able to tell you
Hmm.
how to use it. I have to write a review on it. I have to do a video on it. All of that costs time,
You have
which
to edit
costs
the
money.
video, which is awful.
Yeah, which I paid. I paid Nelson to do.
Yeah,
So I'm
exactly.
losing money. So it's like, I get it, but the thing is, if you don't have reviewers to tell you about gear, then you're going to be bitching at the company who probably, you're going to be bitching about the company because it doesn't do something that you weren't aware of that a reviewer could have told you.
Yeah. And like for example, the I think it's still the biggest gear video on my channel is the Epiphone Firebird. I did a
Mm-hmm.
1 month in video. I've had this guitar for a month. I've gigged it. I've used it. I felt really good about that review because it was
Sure.
something I had lived with for a while. I didn't just get it and the next day go, hey, here's a video about this guitar. Like, for example, I've had this Creston for 2 weeks. There's no video. I haven't used it in a video. I haven't done anything with it. I'm not going to until I spend a lot more time playing it. And even then, it's a hard thing to do a demo or a review of because it's a all of Creston's guitars are one-offs, so it's a bad
Yeah.
example in
Yeah.
that regard. But I
Well,
haven't had it long enough to feel comfortable doing a review of it.
Mm-hmm.
well, also let me for it. I will say that's why personally for me, I've shifted more towards an educational approach because I'd rather you learn something about the product than feeling like I'm trying to sell you something. Because at the end of the day, like if you follow me on social media, you know I love Strymon.
Right?
Like and I love the Big Sky. And those two things aren't going to change. And I will admit that I have a relationship with that company. But what I'm not going to do is review a pedal from Strymon that doesn't fit me, that I don't like. Like,
Yeah.
they know I'm not like a big flanger person. So if they sent me a flanger to review, I would probably send it back because
Yeah.
it's like that's not my wheelhouse. That's not what people are looking for me to review.
I've also
Or,
turned down things that I know that I'm not going to be able to play and do. Um,
mm,
I have had people ask me to do compressor videos. I'm like, I can't do a compressor video. I'm not that kind of player. Heck, I stepped far enough out of my wheelhouse doing the summer school electronics class
Mm-hmm.
reunion because that pedal's out of my wheelhouse, but I did really, really love it, so I did a video for it. Um, I like it better on bass than I do on guitar, but that's just me. Um, it's on my baseboard now. But that's just it. I'm not going to do a video on something I don't like. Steve sent me this as part of
You
the.
should make a video
I'm
on that.
I'm not making. I hate this thing. This thing's awful. If I do a video, it's going to be do something stupid. Like I've thought about doing this one, or I have another one. What's the other? Oh, the Metal Zone. That I bought at Guitar Center because I had some credit and it was the cheapest thing I could find that I might potentially want for something. I'm gonna do if I do a video, it'll be do something stupid like watch me use a Dan Electro Fab Metal with a $10,000 rig and play like my Mulecaster through a two rock with a Dan Electro Rat pedal. You know what I mean?
I
Um,
think that's a really good video idea.
yeah.
That's a great title.
But I'm not doing it as a demo. I'm not doing it as I'm trying to sell you this.
Oh,
I'm doing
sure,
it
sure,
because
sure.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
stupid.
It's a fun thing, and
yeah.
I think that plays to like Alexander's things here. So two things. One, yeah, you know, we talked about reviews in the moment. Something that we are trying to get to a little bit, and we have the flexibility to do it. I think is the well, you took the thing down.
Oh
Uh,
well, it's.
so
I feel like it's a
there we
continuation.
go. Yeah. Is just trying to find like ways to make like Ryan's schedule is pretty busy, so it's like how do we find ways to bring some of that stuff back, and maybe some of that is short form to revisit older product, but that also plays into where though it comes up less now because I think people just kind of understand that you just go do it. For years I would get questions, and Ryan would get questions all the time from people like, how do I start a YouTube channel? It's like, well, you own a phone. How many guitar pedals do you own? And that was always the conversation, like how do you do this? Like, how do you do this? Well, you just review what you own and people will watch it because there is a market for people
Mm-hmm.
who just, I saw this random Washburn pedal on Reverb and I want to know about it. And congratulations, because that pedal came out 20 years ago and you decided to do a video of it. You're the only one who has a
Yep.
video for it. And maybe it's not cool. And maybe it's not going to get a lot of views, but it's going to build, it's going to start getting your brand or whatever that you're trying to build out into the algorithm. And there are people who are looking for gear to discover. And you think about like ultimately, um, the brand existed and the brand existing allowed them to move very quickly and get big very quickly. Um, and was like what JHS has done with the amount of things, and people criticize them for it. But of course, like Josh Scott does a lot of things where he just looks at his wall of pedals that he's collected over the last 20, 30 years, whatever,
Hmm.
and just goes like, oh, I want to talk about this thing this week. But how do I make a video around this? And then he makes a video around it, and then people get mad that he does a review of the one that it's in my mind recently because Amanda Coombs told me that I should I should buy it and I didn't, and I haven't looked and see if the prices jumped. It was he did the Nova delay,
Oh
TC
yeah, yeah,
Electronic Nova
yeah.
delay,
Which is super old school.
which was a pedal that was like super hyped in like 2008 maybe, and then as soon as Strymon came out, kind of vanished. But
Yeah,
it's still a perfectly fine product that that people own and that people you can still find on Reverb, and there's still value in them. So that's just kind of like there's definitely value in older reviews. There's value in the newer reviews. There's value in all of this. And at the same time, yeah, none of this is about need.
yeah. I
Nobody
needed to
needs
say that.
nobody needs to watch YouTubers. Guitar Center hopefully exists close enough to you that you can just go buy it. Or, a lot of these Guitar Center, Sweetwater, whatever, they have various return policies. So yeah, it's a pain in the ass, but you can just buy it and send it back. Or, at the end of the day, you really only need a fucking guitar and a fucking amp, and you don't actually need any of this other stuff.
No, no. Even
You
we
don't
can go
even
ahead.
need the guitar and the amp. You
Yeah.
need food and you need shelter.
That's it.
And
This
that's
is
really
all
all
about
you need.
want. This isn't about need. This is, and also I hate the idea that because they're paid to do it, they suddenly become a shill. No,
Yeah.
that's not. Am I saying that there's no one out there? Here's what I'll say. Someone out there who is purely doing it for the money that doesn't like the things they're reviewing won't last long doing that in this industry
Look,
because everyone knows each other, everyone talks, and like if it's gonna come through in the video too. If you don't like the thing you're doing a demo of, it's gonna come through
yeah,
anyway.
and I think also be wary of people that are just doing reviews for access because yes, while free gear is nice and whatnot, you can tell the people who are authentic about it and the people who aren't. Like I said, I gave the I gave the Gold Foil Jazzmaster a shit review because the one that was sent out was a shit product.
Yep.
Did I care? Did I, as much as I love Fender, I wasn't going to sit there and be like, boy, oh boy, this Jazzmaster is awesome when I know it wasn't. Because I was like, if I had this experience, you could have this experience. There is something to be said that's valid for every reviewer. You go with the personalities that, fit what you're looking for musically and see what they have to say. If you value what they have to say, go for it. Like, because at the end of the day, I'm going to be real with you. None of these YouTube reviewers care whether you buy the thing that's on the video or not. It
Nope.
doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter whether you buy it or not. Doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I obviously don't do a ton of reviews, but I have had things sent to me to do a video on, and I've not done the video because I did not like the thing that was sent to me, and that's just the
There's
way it works.
the comment by Hugh Schick, I think this is a thing that comes up a lot to me, and this goes that people is part of my take too. Is there was if you consider it a golden era, like I said, like the gear man dude, and this is what Ryan Bruce was talking about, like when he first was getting started, there was a community of people who were just doing it because they felt like it needed to be done and nobody was really making money. But the status quo at that time was, if you wanted people to learn about your product, they were either going to your website and you had like a video embedded on your website that was like your own demo artist, and that's
Uh-huh.
assuming that you were a big enough company to pay for the bandwidth to put 240p video on your website, um or you were relying on seeing it in Guitar World or Guitar Player or Premier Guitar or whatever, like print magazines, and I don't know, I can't say which ones were doing it because I just don't remember, but I do know that I have talked to pedal companies, pedal company owners who have said that they put out a new product, it gets featured in the new product section of a magazine, and then they tag them and say, "Oh, cool, I got featured in the new product section of this magazine," and my lighting just got real weird. That
Yeah,
I
dude,
don't know
you got
what the hell
bright all
just
of a
happened.
sudden.
The cloud must have moved off of this thing. And then all of a sudden they get an email from the magazine saying, "Hey, we just featured your new product. We'd love to do a 4-page article on the history of your company," and that's a 4 or 5 figure cost.
Woof.
You know, we'd love to do it. We'd love to we'd love to interview you basically for 5,000, let's say
Yeah, yeah,
$5,000.
yeah.
And
So
and I'm not making that number up. That's not a, that is print, because that's like the standard cost for print ad. Like,
yeah,
that's the history of it. So the reality of it is we don't do it with our show, but like, think about, Philip, if, you know, a company, if Mark Turley from
yeah,
summer school says like, "Hey man," now I guess you're not big enough, so like, but like your position to like say Blake, and I know Blake, I don't think Blake does this, I'm pretty sure he doesn't do this, I'm like 99.9999999% sure he doesn't do this, that when a new product comes out, if he wants to feature, you know, someone on the show, he's not saying, "Oh yeah, come on my show and pay me to interview
right.
you."
Does not. Well, I think of it back to, you're talking about print journalism, especially. Um, if you've read the books Freakonomics and More Freakonomics, in one of those, I can't remember which book, he talks about, he gives it's an economist using case examples of how the thing you think would work doesn't, and you got to look into the statistics of how it's done otherwise. Food and Wine magazine, I don't read
Mhm.
it, but I know it exists. I've seen it before on the rack, right? And they do a thing where they give an award to a restaurant every year as
Mhm.
like the top like food and wine pairing restaurant that submitted to join this, right? To be
Mhm.
considered. So this one guy decided he wanted to show how much of a sham it was, and so he created, quote unquote, a restaurant completely
Mhm.
fake, created a menu for it. The restaurant doesn't exist, but it has a website, it's got a Facebook page. Um, apparently my microphone is a little quiet. You've got a face, you got all those things. You create this menu, and then he built the wine list entirely from wines that the magazine had given a shit review to, but were super expensive. So he specifically sought out the most expensive wines that this magazine said were terrible. And
Mhm.
then he submitted his fake restaurant for consideration for this award, and he won.
Well, I'm gonna jump in as far as the print review. Um, here's my thoughts on it. I think it's a completely asinine argument because here's the thing: all print media is paid media. Like you, if you're talking about reviews or any magazine like Guitar World, you are paying to be in there. Like, yeah, they
Mhm.
might, in one way or another, you're paying for it. So you're saying, okay, a YouTuber being paid for their thoughts on this, it's wrong, and they're shills, but you know Guitar World having this review or this 5-figure deal for this company, there's not a conflict of interest there. Like
It's a
there's
shill.
yeah, it's so the thing is, it's just like I personally think that argument in itself is asinine because I think there's value in everyone's opinions, and if you trust the person you're getting the opinion from, you know more that helps, that's valuable. And I,
Mhm.
I personally just like,
I
and I
think you're
say this as
I think you're getting
and
more honest reviews today than you ever have.
exactly. And I think, I think more people, to be real with you, I think a lot of people are just jealous and I hate to say it, of the quote unquote free gear aspect. So of course they're going to say this. It's just like I, but in my head, I'm just like, after doing this for some time, um, there is no such thing as free gear.
Yeah, no
Like,
Sure.
such thing.
they're paying for your time to do something, and chances are they're not going to give you something you don't do a video,
Hmm.
unless you were at the top of the heap. Like you're the Rhett Scholes, and even then he's very honest and forthcoming.
Yep.
Like they're not going to give you something and you don't do anything with it and you get to keep that. Like, no,
Right.
you have to send it back. And most bigger companies, you have to send this stuff back. Like, Gibson, and I'm just saying this because I've worked with both Gibson and PRS. If it is a guitar, chances are I'm sending it back. Like,
Right.
Right.
if it's a couple other things, I'm sending it back. So there is no free review. They're just sending it out to me to see what I think. And, even the Les Paul Modern Light, I didn't give it the best of reviews. I was just like, it was like a 7, I think, 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Even then, it was like around that area, like, and I still work with Gibson and do stuff. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
it's not like, oh, you're getting paid to only promote this as a good thing, because I've talked to my Gibson rep all the time. Well, my GC Gibson rep,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
and he knows my opinions on the Modern Light, and he still helps me out whenever I can. Like, if a company does something good and it releases a product that I truly enjoy, then I'm going to do something on it. If they release a product that isn't for me, and I'm going to emphasize isn't for me, then why would you want my opinion on it if
Hmm.
you know that's not for me? And if someone is doing that, like, this person is this type of player, and they're giving you a review on a product that's not them, and maybe you should question that. But I think there's value in everything everybody has to say. Maybe they might be genuinely interested in that product. Who knows?
Right.
But I do think that people should look at these reviewers, see how trustworthy they are, and if you value their opinion and their style is similar enough to you on a certain product, then maybe take that into um, account. Because again, part of, like, before all this shill talk, and I've told you guys numerous times that, like, probably for a year plus now, that I kind of want to remove myself from the review space in terms of YouTube and do more educational content,
Yeah.
because I want people to learn something. And I think the review area has become so stigmatized, where people are jealous, and I think it isn't helped by these companies releasing, like, every major YouTube channel releasing a
Oh,
video on
sure.
the
Sure.
same
Yeah.
day. That's kind of pushed the shill argument.
Hmm.
And I personally think that trust the people you like, and if they're honest, if they come if they're authentic to themselves, you'll know it, and you won't ever have to question it. And, like, their chances are they're like you. And I think that's why a lot of people like the reviews, because we're approachable people, whereas we're not Guitar World, we're not all these other companies that's going to sell you every major product.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Here's a take that I feel like you probably don't hear often. Maybe I just don't pay attention enough. I think there could be value at the end of the day. I think there could be value in if you suspect someone of being a shill, oh, they're only going to say the good stuff about it. At the end of the day, at least with like pedals, unless you are just straight up faking it, you know, you're gonna say, "Oh, this Behringer pedal is really good," but really off camera, you've got it plugged into a Mythos pedal or something,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like, unless you're just faking it, like, trust your ears. This reviewer might be saying like, "Oh, this sounds great," um, and I think, I know that that's been a criticism that we've received is like, Ryan's tone is very consistent video to video, but not everybody likes his tone. But I think if you stick around long enough, you like come to understand that, like, every reviewer has a tone that they're going for, and it might not beat it for you.
Yeah.
But even if everybody is like, a paid shill. Like, they're paid to say nice things. One, there's just like, you can, these things have knobs. You turn them to make it sound like the way that you want. And so really, if the negative is like, oh, it's noisy, well, it's a dirt pedal. So I mean, maybe the person who does it thinks that's okay. But I don't know. Um I think that's some of that space too, where, I mean, it doesn't help. Thumbnails prime your audience
Yeah.
Mhm.
for what they're about to see. So I think when you have a thumbnail or a title that says, is this the worst pedal ever? Or no, yeah, the worst one is like meh, but like if you have a pedal, it's like, is this pedal gonna change the game? You've already primed your audience for like something that's outlandish and over the top, but you've primed some people to immediately be like, oh, like, how many times can we hear that something's gonna change
Right.
the game?
Right.
You know, and so
Not
they're kind
everything
of
can be a
in
game
that space.
changer.
So I think some of that's of our own doing as creators, where in order to, the outlandish statement is what gets people to show up, but it also is like, some people are capable of seeing the outlandish statement, saying, ooh, I want to see what this is about, going and watching the video, and then forming their own opinion based on what they've seen. And some people just, they see the outlandish title, they take that, and it primes them to automatically be thinking negative about whatever the product is. So I think there's some of that too. Hugh says, please remind us who the gentleman on the right hand side of the screen is. I think that's Jason.
That's
Are you on
Jason.
the right hand side? That's
Yeah.
Jason from Jason. I actually, if you refresh the live stream on the 60 cycle hum live stream, at least I've dropped Jason's links into the description
Look at
by now,
that.
so they're there.
I'll just copy
Um,
them from Steve later and put them in the 40 watt
and
podcast side.
Um, I will say, to add to that, like, hi, I'm Jason. I come from working class music. I'm also a co-host. Oh, I am the host of Play Jason. I write for Guitar.com in the Fretboard Journal. But to add to what I was going to say, tying it back to working class music, one of the things that we've been trying to do, because, for instance, Xander is the drive guy, he's the distortion guy.
mhm,
So
mhm,
I tried to get him on camera to give his take, and that means you see less of my handsome face, because in that episode I'm not going to be the guy that does that, because it's just like, you're not going to come to me and be like, hey Jason, what's the best doom metal sound,
Yeah.
when I know you're not that guy.
Yeah.
So it's just like, if you find a person that is enthused about that particular area, they're going to give you an honest review. And they're, well, most of the time,
Yeah.
they, on paper, they're going to give you an honest review. And I think that makes you question the authenticity less, or yeah, it makes you question their authenticity a bit less, because it's just like, yeah, if you want the ambient, like, shoegazy shit, yeah, come holler at me. I'll tell
mhm,
you what's
mhm,
up. But if you want the more orange based stuff, I'm gonna tell you, that's why we have Xander. Like,
Hmm.
right,
if you want
right.
the more of the indie punk guitar stuff, like someone from some, which is why I love Nelson, because he doesn't have the perspective that we do. So he can tell you, from a person who doesn't play music as much, if
Mhm,
this is good or bad from that perspective. So you look at the perspectives, and then it's just like, you have someone like Tia, who just, like, she is awesome at just playing guitar and letting like, the one thing I really do love and I appreciate about when Tia and I do an episode is, she provides a very valid counter that I didn't think of and I didn't take into account. And it's just like, there's something to be said about that, and that's why I kind of like that. So as far as like reviews goes and shills go, I for our show, that show in particular, I I I don't know if that claim holds water, because we're not making money, and two, like, you have a viewpoint for, we have different viewpoints for different audiences. So again, it's just like, I remember with the for instance, with the Orange Super Crush review, I forgot what it was. We said something about, like, we didn't like this we didn't like the drive or clean channel. It was one of the channels we didn't like. And
Mhm.
then everybody just kind of tried to correct us, being like, "Well, did you do it this way? Did you do it this way? Like, did you plug this combo amp into a 412 cabinet? And it's just like, no, we just didn't like it. Like, and the funny thing is, we did that review, and Xander's still employed by Orange. So
Right.
like, so I mean, like,
Was this
there's
the Rocker 32? Because if so, I agree.
no, no, no. It was the Super Crush. It
Oh,
was the latest one they came out with, and I remember like I bought that with my own money. Well, and we did that review, and
Mhm.
I'm not gonna say that buying things with your own money makes things more honest, because I mean, because Xander works for Orange,
right.
so
Mhm.
it's like, I could have, if Orange was a company, if Orange was a more corporate company, if you will, they could have been like, "Hey, Xander, you're affiliated with this. We don't like what he had to say. You're out." Like,
Sure, sure. I think I hear that argument a lot. Like, I do think there's value in buying things from like because you should just do whatever you want. And sometimes if you can't get the thing, you should just buy it and go with it and
Yeah.
whatever, right? But going way back to what we were talking about at the very beginning, when you do a what's new, when you have a weekly show and you do a what's new every week, it's like kind of messy with it. Because Ryan and I record our episodes in pairs, you
Hmm.
know, it's this idea that like even if I present one new thing every 2 weeks, that's an item. That's still almost $3,000 worth of spending, and stuff can get kind of up there, But I think there's value in the channels that buy their own stuff, but I don't think that um I think that there's channels that lean so hard into their wanting to uh, be independent that it's like kind of actually to their own detriment. Um
Hugh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna need you to cash at me that back.
Yeah. We broke, man.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. So, and I think that's the whole take is that I've I'm trying to remember, have I ever been paid for a review? I've gotten a couple of free things.
then you got
Free,
paid.
not
That's
free. That's my payment. That's the only. No one's
Actually,
giving me cash. Let's
right.
put it that
actually,
way.
I will say this. Um, in the 3 years that I've been doing this,
Uh huh.
I think I just got the first request for a review. Everything has
Oh,
been, everything has been, can you just make content, like just do whatever. Like,
Sure.
that's how everything has always been, and I think this was the first time um, that someone has said, "Hey, I want a review on this."
Mhm.
And I remember having that conversation and being like, "Okay, you can send it to me, but if I don't like it, I'm not reviewing it."
yeah.
So,
Right,
uh, you know,
right.
And that's the
so
trick. That's the bottom line.
And,
Um.
and that's a thing that a lot of different channels talk about too. I know, and it just depends. Honestly, some of it depends on the brand. Like, if we're being honest, uh, if we get contacted by, some random mass-produced company on Amazon that they send us stuff and like, you know, we test it out and it doesn't sound well. The unboxings are dangerous for that, right? Like
Yeah. Because
sometimes Ryan
if
sets
it's
up for an
bad.
unboxing and it's just trying to like make it work and whatever. But there's also been situations with we've had this problem with like Walrus in the past. With We've had a couple different pedals from them that were like not ready for market. Um, and so we had to reach out to them and be like, hey, what's going on here, that like this is noisy, or like this does this thing or that thing. And sometimes they're like, yeah, we're just releasing it that way, like you can call
Yeah.
it out because it's going to be it is a noisy pedal. I think the very first version of the Monument had that problem. It was just like it just had a white noise in it that like was just there. But yeah, I think Joe Pedal Playhouse is independent to detriment. And I don't necessarily mean you. I'm thinking more of like the channels that are like so prideful in the fact that they don't work with brands.
Yeah.
And some of those companies, and Henning pointed this out, some of the channels that claim to be independent but also won't say that, like, there are certain channels that don't actually say, oh, Ryan says it wasn't the Monument, it was one of them, I don't remember which one it was. He probably remembers. um that won't say that they buy the gear. It was the Bellwether, but they also won't say that how they got the gear. It's because they are really good friends with the shop owner. So they
Mm,
borrow the gear from their local shop, they do the video, they give it back, and they just kind of pretend like it's all above board. There's no disclosure one way or the other.
yeah.
I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying, like, everybody has their own kind of entry into this space, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. And I think, Henning's big point with his video about the whole shill stuff was like, if you want above a certain quality, this stuff takes time, this stuff takes money. You can do it with iPhone, and if you want to be independent and use your iPhone, one of the channels we interacted with years ago, um, when I forget, Ryan said something was I think he said it was bad, and then the guy kind of like called us out on it, or maybe Ryan said it was good, and the guy, I don't remember, but he made a reaction video to one of our videos. Um, it was a whole thing, but his whole thing was like, oh, I don't get compensated for my reviews, so it's honest. But at the same time, it's like, that's fine, but also, like, all of your videos look like they're done on an iPhone, and you're not miking anything in it, and it sounds like you're not getting paid for it, and that's
Exactly.
fine. That's fine. It's good that exists. But also, I think it's important to recognize that, like, even for this live stream, I don't know what this camera costs, but I know it's more than I would have paid for a camera if my wife wasn't trying to get. It's like an $850 camera, which is like not, which is very cheap for a camera, by the way.
Yeah, that is kind of cheap.
Actually, to go on your point, I'm going to use my recent review from
Alan, you're
guitar.com.
wrong. This thing's
Uh,
amazing. Sorry.
uh, no, I was saying, I'm going to go to your point. I'm going to go on my recent review for the PRS S2 Vela. I had to write that article, which I bought my own MacBook to do that. I had to do the photos for it, which I bought my own camera and software to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everything else, like, so so everything outside of that people don't see, and at that level, like at Henning's level, like quality wise, that shit costs money. And like even at our level, like that Nelson has to get paid. Like, so I mean nothing, I think in the review space, unless I have never had a manufacturer, no, I take that back. There's one, but they gave us something as to learn the next product that was coming out, so we didn't have to do a video on the one they sent. It was just to be able to compare the old and new one accurately. And they didn't, they were like, you don't have to do a video on it, we just want you to be familiar with both.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool, that's fine. But like I think where I'm going with that is, like, Henning is right. Like, there's a certain level of quality, and there's certain things that people don't take into account. Like for me, the toot my own music journalism horn, like, there those articles don't write themselves. And Ryan hit it. Our time is more valuable than the equipment we use. That's what I was trying to say. That
Yep.
was my long-winded way of saying that.
Our time is more valuable than the equipment we use.
Yeah.
That's just
And,
And I like this
and
thing from Alex here. Like, there's room for everyone. You can chill, you can be an ad man, you can do all this stuff. But sorry, go
yep.
ahead. Keep going, Jason.
oh, no. Like, and I think that's the thing. And like, to go with Alex, like, that's why in every video I do on Play Jason, you hear there's always a promotion card. There's all, like, within the first couple minutes, I tell you I write for this, I do this, this company sent this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, So so like there's that disclosure. I think the issue is when someone. I think the issue most people are having is when there isn't that disclosure, and everything that a person is doing, or a particular channel is doing, is overtly positive, but they're not disclosing if there is a business relationship of sorts,
Yeah.
which does make the conflict of interest. And I
Hmm.
think if there are channels that are doing that, then you should be wary of those channels, because a lot of the times, every major channel, every channel who brands value their opinion, they're working together some way or another. Like,
Hmm.
if, I can't, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, oh, well, for instance, I know Warris values my opinion in terms of like reverbs and stuff, so they'll send me stuff, and like and I will disclose that. But if I, with the exception of the first R1 video, which I bought myself, which built that relationship,
Mm-hmm.
like there was nothing to disclose because I bought it myself and I enjoyed it. Like,
Yeah, and
yeah,
I think I'll tell you the person who I think does it really well. Um, but of course, they're not strictly a demo or a review channel. That's not what they do. They do educational and musician lifestyle content. That's Rhett Scholl. Rhett says every time, full
Hmm.
disclosure, they sent me this, or
Right.
I picked this up, or this is on loan, or this was, they didn't tell me what to say, they didn't pay me any money, but they did send me the gear, and this is my opinion. I appreciate that. Just say it. No matter how you got it. Uh, for example, if I do the video on this, I'll say Steve from 60 Cycle Hum sent me this because I sent them an amazing ad for their show. Um, if I do the video, we'll see. But that's the thing. You have to just be open and upfront about it. It's when people start trying to obfuscate that relationship. Look, there's no secrets anymore. Stop
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
There's none of this. The people who don't tell you how they got the gear are the same people that tell people they shouldn't talk about their salaries to coworkers.
Sure.
Um, it's old school bullshit corporate America. Stop it. Just be honest, and we'll trust you a whole lot more. You're gonna keep getting videos that are gonna seem like shills or overly positive, but at least if they're telling you how they came about the gear or why they're doing it, you can understand a little more about what's going on to it. Or if you're one of those people that says, I only review things I love, say that in every video.
Sure.
Remind people that if you're overly positive, it's because you genuinely love this gear that you're reviewing and that there's stuff you don't review.
yeah. And I think one thing I want to pose is like this hypothetical. Like, if you see one of these reviewers who are like, I buy my own gear and I do this, this, and this, and then you continually see them interact with, brand X. You
Mm-hmm.
see them
Hmm.
at NAM with brand X. Wouldn't that put the ideal in your head that, like, maybe this person isn't as authentic as they seem? Like,
Yeah.
they would make you, not saying they aren't, but it would make you question that. And it's just like, well, maybe this brand isn't, there could be a chance that the brand isn't sending them anything, and they could be that,
Yeah.
but it would
Yeah.
still make you question that. And I think, to me, that's the most damaging aspect of it, if you have to question the authenticity of this person.
Sure.
Because like if you see me at NAM and it's just like, okay, for instance, I'm over by
Strymon.
the Strymon. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
over by the
Sure.
Strymon booth. Like, yeah, I love Strymon, so that's not going to be like oh, that's a conflict of interest. Like,
Yeah.
I've
Right.
let that be
Right.
known. And it's like, I have a friendship with the people at Strymon. Or if you see me walking around with Mark Quigley from PRS and we're just chatting it up, we're friends.
Yeah.
It's not
Hmm.
like, that relationship is there. But once you remove that relationship, and then you start to see all these other things that makes you question the optics of it, whether it's true or not, you're questioning it. And that ruins the authenticity of the person you're getting this information from.
Yeah. That's it. That's it. And it's one of those things where be as upfront no matter how you paid for it. Like, for example, I have a couple of brands that let me buy at artist prices, right? And when I do those videos, I'm going to say that. I'm going to say that, I bought this, but I did but get to buy at an artist discount. Done. That's
Hmm.
it. Just be honest. Or like it's like, Jason, if all of a sudden you were starting to run around with the quilter guys. And like, not
Hmm.
the quilter makes a bad product, but I'm like, that's not really Jason. Like,
Exactly.
that's not, you know,
Yeah,
uh,
like and that's the thing. It's just like I think if you start to see me like at a company that I normally like that I have if it's one thing if I'm like buying my own Ernie balls, quote unquote, and saying hey but I have a business relationship with these other companies, and then you start seeing me do more and more Ernie ball stuff without disclosing that if there is a relationship, it'll make you question it. And I
exactly.
understand that because like it's one of those things where I think the trust is crucial, and I think a lot of people that you build these trust, you build your online persona, if you will, and if the online persona matches the real life persona, that makes for an authentic reviewing experience.
Yep.
And a person that I love, who I've modeled um myself after channel wise, is Mike Adams, because I doubt that I doubt if anyone questions his reviews on thing. One, because
I,
he's coming from like a tech perspective.
mm-hmm.
So, and two, like, he's coming, he's honest, and you can't, oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah, I see what
Um
you did there.
uh,
Yeah, and
um
he is like the least chilly of anyone I've ever known. Cause like
yeah.
he will tell you the shit. He just will.
Yeah. And like, and the thing is just like when he did the American Vintage 2 review, which was my Jazz Master, there were things like, one person put it perfectly. Jason's coming from a playing perspective, Mike is coming from a tech perspective. And even
Right.
from the playing perspective, we were positive about it, but we weren't like shilly about it, like, yeah, you
Right.
should go out and buy this. But we were
Mhm.
positive because it's like it's a jazz master. It sounds like a jazz master is cool. There's issues with the setup and stuff and other things, but it's a jazz master.
Yeah. But then it got
Whatever.
into a tech's hands, and
Yeah, and he pointed out everything wrong with it, and like I could appreciate that because that's the one thing I look at. It's just like one, like Mike is going to give you an honest review, and he's who I look to if I'm looking at
Mhm.
a jazz master. Like, he's the first person I text,
yep.
and because I
Same.
know he's going
Oh,
to give.
I when I was looking at this Creston, I texted
Mm,
Mike. That's exactly who I
yeah,
went to. So,
yeah, and I
oh,
and I
good.
think to say to that, like, but if he were to ever do something like inauthentic, like, yeah, then that would make me question him.
Yep.
Sure.
Like, no one is immune to that.
No, absolutely. So, gentlemen, I think we have milked this topic, and here we are, well past lunch, and well past the 2 hour mark. We've still got 56 people watching, which is incredible. I'm so glad y'all are hanging out. But I think we're going to get ready to wrap this up. Any parting thoughts?
Dude, I don't remember that white jazz master. If you refer, oh no, Hugh. Okay, I was
Okay.
gonna say on Instagram. I was like, I didn't post a damn Alright, but
Uh, do I have a parting thought?
Yeah, parting thoughts?
Um,
um, I I think my parting thought is this: trust who you trust, and question everything. The truth is out there.
And every demo or reviewer is not for you.
Yeah,
That's okay. Find the ones that are.
yeah.
Steve?
I don't know. Just do whatever you want.
Actually, yeah.
Go
Actually,
Padres.
I
Go
said that at the end of
Padres.
Dude, I said that at the end of one episode, and I was like, "Oh my god, this company's gonna hate me." Like, it's like, do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. Like, oh, my parting thought: the Clapton Crossroads is shit for various reasons.
Yeah. My parting thought is apparently I need to start doing bad reviews of pedals because people will trust you more if you shit on things, which I think is a terrible way to go about life.
I
That's what
mean,
I'm going to say.
it's we kind of, I don't really want to
Yeah.
talk about it anymore.
Steve's done. Steve's like, I want to go watch baseball.
No, I don't even like. I'm
Uh,
not. It's not even that. I'm just like, there's there's so many angles. I just think like I'll just say like I think we live in a place where there's so much cynicism about everything
Yeah.
that sometimes we confuse being critical or being questioning of something with actually being like, no, you're just actually just being cynical, that you can't believe that a person, like Ryan or like Josh Scott or like you guys can actually exist and have opinions that aren't like paid for. Like I've said this before, like I've known some of the criticisms that we've had on the channel over the years are things where I just look at it and go like, I've known Ryan for basically 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's just who he is.
Yep.
And I'm sure, he's a unique person, but there's lots of unique people. And sometimes like there's so many, it's funny. Like there's so many channels that say like, well, I only want to review gear that I like. So they end up never saying anything bad. But then there's also people who can like look past how would I use this pedal to like, how would somebody use this pedal? Jason, you mentioned the Dan Donegan Weapon X earlier. Now maybe that's a genuinely shit pedal. I don't know. But I'm sure that there is somebody who could take it and be like, well, I don't really know a lot about this genre, but I imagine that it's supposed to be cool for chuggity chug chugs like this. And then they make a video
yeah.
and like, oh, you're just shilling for Digitech. It's like, no, like this is just what I thought it would be good for. Like, listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth. Anyway,
That's it. All right, well, gentlemen, it has been fun. Thank y'all all for hanging out and interacting, comments. Make sure to like and subscribe all the channels: 60 Cycle Hum, 40 Watt Podcast, Working Class Music, and Jason T. Mays. Go check all those out. Stop being so cynical. Find some joy in this world. Seriously. Stop looking for everything to be awful. Because a lot of it is awful. And
I was gonna say, yeah.
a lot of it is
Right now,
awful. So find joy in the things that bring you joy. Y'all, it's Guitar Gear. This ain't exactly the highest, most important, world-changing thing in the world. Just like stuff. It's fine.
To get slightly political, remember our lives are doing a lot better than the folks in Gaza. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so remember that it could always be worse.
This is all a hobby we do for fun. Whether that someone loves all the Tube Screamer pedals that come out or not doesn't change. It's not that important.
yeah. Also, stay grounded.
And mine takes too long to say. Be good to yourselves, be kind to each other, and make some noise.
Be suspicious of your own cynicism when questioning other skepticism.
Oh, Tiki, we were actually. So I'll answer this question even though it's
Okay.
late. Oh, Man the Helm was here. Hi, Man the Helm.
Yeah, what's up, Jake?
What happened to Ryan's Cream guitar, the Mexican Explorer thing? We were actually just talking about that on a recent episode of the podcast. Maybe I forget if it was last week or 2 weeks ago. But I'm trying to encourage Ryan to do some more videos with that thing, hopefully in the near future.
Send it to me. I'll do videos. I'll shill for y'all. It'll be great.
A Fender Explorer.
Yeah, send it to me. I'll shill for y'all. It'll be great. All right, y'all.
See y'all later.
Bye.
Later.